This morning I watched my best friend cry outside a courtroom she wasn't allowed to enter. 6 months earlier, I called her from an ambulance because her daughter was being rushed to the hospital, and she asked me if changing her flight would cost more than $200. She told me it was probably just for attention. That was the moment I realized money had become a bigger emergency than her child. We used to raise our girls like sisters. My Emma and her Julia shared sleepovers, holiday breakfasts, the last orange popsicle in the box. Our porch light was Julia's second home. Then, on day 3 of a simple, "Can she stay the week?" favor, Julia locked a door she never locked, and my hallway, so key, turned into a lifeline. I opened the door and found the kind of quiet no house can hold. I dialed 911 with a voice that didn't sound like mine. On the way to the ER, I called her mother. She hesitated, like concern needed a receipt, and said maybe it wasn't serious. At the hospital, after the doctor said the word that makes nurses move faster, I texted again, certain this would bring her home. Her reply? A price tag and a shrug. That's what nurses are for. I stared at my phone and felt something break that had been holding us together for 15 years. Here's what I didn't know then. A locked door would turn into police at my front steps, CPS interviews at my kitchen table, and a judge who would have to decide where a frightened teenager should sleep. I didn't know I would be accused of kidnapping for letting a child hide in my bathroom, or that an officer named Martinez would knock softly and change the next 72 hours of our lives. I didn't know the internet would try to chew us up, and that a burner phone could follow a girl into her dreams. But I can tell you what happened, step by step, in a way you can copy and paste if you ever need to be the adult in the room, when the room won't listen. I kept everything in writing. I learned to answer yes, no, plus 1 sentence. I built a file the court could read in 30 seconds. And I chose boring over heroic until boring felt like peace. Before we start, tell me in the comments. If your phone buzzed with a $200 question while a kid you loved was in a hospital bed, what would you text back? And if you've ever had to become the safe house for someone else's child, type one word, received, so another mom scrolling at 2 a.m. knows she isn't alone. Before there were court dates and burner phones, there was a front porch with chipped paint and 2 little girls who thought the world began and ended on our block. Claire and I had met in a campus coffee line 15 years earlier, both of us balancing paperbacks on strollers like we were auditioning for the same complicated part, young moms who still wanted to talk about books. We were not sisters, but there were seasons when the porch made liars of us. My Emma and her Julia traded hair ties and secrets, popsicles, and inside jokes. If Emma was the narrator, Julia was the exclamation mark. We built our own small town between the mailbox and the kitchen sink. There was a spare toothbrush labeled J in our medicine cabinet and a hoodie that lived on the back of my dining chair because Julia always forgot something at dusk. On Fridays, I sliced apples and pretended to grade papers, while the girls choreographed dances to songs I pretended not to know. On Sundays, after church, we spread a blanket on the living room floor and ate pancakes with our fingers like humans invented cutlery as a suggestion. In those years, the porch light meant more than electricity. It meant, we're up. We see you. Come in. Claire used to joke that my house smelled like cinnamon and rules. She meant it kindly. I had laminated chore charts and a tray for library books that needed to go back. She had spontaneity like a superpower. Midnight milkshakes, spontaneous road trips, costume bins that turned Tuesday into Halloween. She took us all to the state fair on a weekday once just because the sky was too blue to waste. She was the mom who could make boredom sit down. I was the mom who could make bedtime happen. Together, somehow, we made a childhood. The girls treated our houses like 2 sides of the same story. If a thunderstorm rolled in, Julia patted down our hallway and climbed under the throw blanket without asking. If Emma had a spelling test, Claire quizzed her on the steps like a coach with a whistle. When one of them got the flu, The other drew a card with crooked hearts and a dinosaur that looked like a dog. On Halloween, they were always a pair. Astronaut and rocket, chef and cupcake, bee and flower. The porch held every photo, a paper leaf taped to the door frame for every inch they grew. It is easy to tell a clean story where one mother is good and the other is a villain. That wasn't our life. Claire loved her daughter fiercely. She did voices when she read aloud, big Broadway ones that made the neighbors laugh through the walls. She kept a notebook of Julia's jokes and mispronunciations because she knew childhood slips away if you blink. She could braid a crown in 5 minutes flat. She had a laugh you could hear from the driveway and a way of turning adults into co-conspirators in whatever game the kids were playing. And yet, even then, tiny cracks lived inside our ordinary. They were not headlines. They were delays. Claire was late in ways I learned to pad for. "Be there in 10, she'd text, and I'd lay out snacks like I had 20. She made promises like balloons, and sometimes fick to tie na tha dot. When Julia needed new shoes, Claire bought the ones with lights that ate batteries instead of the ones that would survive the playground. When money was tight, she posted inspirational quotes about the universe providing, and then bought plane tickets because a girls' trip would fix her head. I am not judging. I am cataloging what I missed. The almosts, the next times, the jokes that deflected. I had a key to Claire's place tucked under a ceramic frog by her steps. She had one to mine under a loose brick. It felt like friendship spelled out loud. We had a rule for the girls: no locked doors, mostly because kids and curiosity share a reckless streak. The bathroom was the exception, and even then we kept a bobby pin on the trim for emergencies. Julia teased me that my rules had rules. She wasn't wrong, but she never rolled her eyes at our house. She sighed, relaxed, like a body that recognized the choreography. The first time I noticed something I couldn't fold into my charts was a Tuesday after soccer. Julia climbed into the back seat and went quiet in that careful way kids get when they are protecting someone else's feelings. "You okay?" I asked, keeping my voice small so the question could fit in her chest. She nodded too fast. We drove home in a silence that made me want to crank the radio and also hold it still. On the porch, while Emma showed her a drawing, Julia asked, "Can I sleep here?" It was not a special occasion question. It was a lifeline in a child's syntax. I said yes, because of course, and texted Claire, "Sleep over at ours? Big day of soccer. I'll get them to bed early." Claire sent 3 heart emojis and, "You're an angel." I wanted that to be the end of the paragraph. That fall, our neighborhood leaf pile became an altar. The girls took flying jumps with their knees to their chests and disappeared into color. Julia popped up with hair full of gold and laughed until she hiccuped. In the photos, nothing is wrong. That's the trouble with photos. They capture light, not weight. Birthdays stitched our families together with frosting. At Julia's 10th, Claire booked one of those art studios where kids paint canvases while an instructor says gentle words about brush strokes. She made cupcakes with tiny sugar planets because Julia had just discovered space. She placed one in my hand and said, soft so the crowd wouldn't hear, "I'm doing my best." I squeezed her fingers and said, "I know." Both statements were true. Neither was enough. There were practical things that climbed onto my list and sat there like shy cats. Claire forgot to send permission slips. She burned through favors like matches. She called me from the pharmacy because she couldn't find her card. I Venmo'd co-pays and wrote, "Pay me when it's easy," knowing easy is a calendar entry that rarely arrives. She paid me back, mostly. Once she didn't. It was $50. I told myself $50 allowed us to be the house with extra toothbrushes. Money is a story families tell themselves so they can keep loving each other. If I had to put my finger on the week the ground shifted, I'd pick the week of the Bali trip, though it didn't break anything by itself. Claire sent a photo of a waterfall and a caption about finding herself. I sent a heart and a be safe, because I wanted it to be safe to want something. Julia stayed with us. We made a paper chain to count down until Mom came back. The night before she was due, I taped the last loop to the fridge and asked if Julia wanted to make a welcome sign. She drew a volcano with hearts for lava. She put it on the porch and checked it every hour like a doorbell. Claire texted that her return flight had changed. "Layover drama," she wrote, 3 laughing emojis, and then, "back tomorrow night instead." I said okay out loud so it would sound like kindness. Julia swallowed the news the way kids do, whole, without chewing, and asked if we could watch the movie with the dancing penguins. We did. She fell asleep with her head on Emma's shoulder. I watched both girls breathe and told the ceiling, "This is fine. One more day is fine." It was not a prophecy. It was a wish. The day Claire came back, she arrived with airport hair and stories that sparkled. She brought the girls bracelets etched with their names. She held Julia by the shoulders and said, "Did you miss me?" Like a test with only one correct answer. Julia said yes, the way kids say yes when the room is taking attendance. Claire hugged me and said, "I owe you a spa day," which is the kind of sentence people use when the ledger is heavy and cash is a dream. The porch took the gift bag and the promise and set them on the hallway table with the other unfiled things. That night, when the house finally exhaled, Emma asked me if grown-ups ever grow out of being kids. I said sometimes we learn better ways to ask for what we need. I didn't know I was writing a note to myself. I looked at the spare hoodie on the dining chair and realized it had become part of the furniture. "We're family," I told myself, and in that sentence hid all the tiny permissions I had been giving a situation that needed more than affection could supply. You would think the moment before everything pivoted would ring an alarm. It didn't. It was a Wednesday. The girls were due at ours for homework and grilled cheese. I sliced the bread and turned on the porch light because the sky had a bruise on it that meant rain later. Claire texted, "Running late. Start without me?" I smiled at the screen and wrote, "Of course." I cut the crusts off because Emma likes it that way and Julia likes what Emma likes. When Julia and Emma ran in, wet with the kind of drizzle that makes hair curl at the edges, they kicked off their shoes and left them in a pile by the mat like puppies. I handed them towels and a rule about puddles. They rolled their eyes in unison and obeyed in unison too. We sat on the floor at the coffee table with paper placemats because homework is always less awful on the floor. Julia pressed her pencil into the page so hard it tore the paper. "New sheet," I said softly, and slid one across like a magician. She smiled without teeth. At bath time, I called Claire again. No answer. I washed the girls' hair and listened to them plan a sleepover playlist. I left a second voicemail that was just my kitchen voice saying, "They're good. Call when you're close." I made a nest of blankets on the living room floor, just in case. I didn't make a speech to myself about what if. I stacked pillows like a spell and put the throw blanket in the dryer so it would come out warm. It felt like kindness. It was also triage. After bedtime, I sat on the porch with a mug and the kind of night that sizzled a little at the edges. When Claire finally texted, it was a photo of takeout and a caption about needing 1 more minute of adult conversation. I typed and erased 3 answers. I settled on a thumbs up and a door's unlocked, because I wanted Grace to travel farther than my worry. I turned the porch light to on instead of auto. On our block, that meant we're awake. Come home. Maybe this is the place to admit that I did not see the locked door coming. I saw 100 unlocked ones. I saw girls in matching pajamas. I saw Claire's laughter wrapped around a bedtime story. I saw rain boots lined up like little soldiers. I saw a life that looked like safety. I mistook a porch light for a guarantee. The morning after, the house woke to the smell of toast and the sound of math facts being sung off-key. The girls made a fort with the dining chairs and called it a museum and charged me 2 Lego coins for admission. Claire didn't knock at 10. She didn't knock at noon. When I texted, "All well?" my phone sat quiet like it had stepped out for air. By dinner, I told myself stories that made the worry behave. She had service issues. She had traffic. She had a headache and fell asleep with a podcast on. "You're dramatic," I told my mirror, and put another set of plates on the table. I didn't know, when I wiped peanut butter off the counter with the practiced flick of a mother who has done it 1,000 times, that we were hours from the scene I would play on rewind for months. I didn't know the key under the frog by Claire's steps would become a question mark. I didn't know a hallway could be so loud with silence. I only knew the girls were giggling at a video, the dishwasher was humming, and my porch light was doing what it always did, burning politely against the dark. If you've ever had a season where the before glows so bright it hurts to look at, you know how this felt. Golden, obvious, safe, and then not. I tell you all of this not to audition for sainthood, but to make the next part make sense. You need to know what we were protecting. You need to understand why a locked door would feel like a betrayal not just of a rule, but of a life. You need the map of our porch to find your way through the hallway with me when the quiet didn't sound like sleep. The night the door locked, it was raining the way movies think rain should fall, straight down like a decision. I flipped the porch light to bright and slid into my shoes. I tucked the spare key into my palm the way you do when you hope you won't need it. In the girls' room, Emma was braiding Julia's hair and arguing about whether the playlist should start with track 2 or track 7. "Back in a minute," I said, soft, so I wouldn't wake whatever the house was holding. I told the dog to wait. She didn't, but the lie helped me step off the porch. And this is where the story leaves Cinnamon and steps into the hallway. I didn't make it to Claire's steps. Halfway down my own hallway, I noticed the sound that wasn't there, the ordinary racket of 2 girls editing a playlist. Emma had gone quiet. Julia wasn't answering. The bathroom door, the only door anyone in my house was allowed to close, was locked. We had a rule: no locked doors except bathroom, and even then we kept a bobby pin taped to the trim for emergencies. I tapped once, my kitchen voice small and steady. "Jules, you okay?" Silence in a shape I didn't recognize filled the space between the jam and my ribs. I said her name the way you call a cat from under a bed, soft, hopeful. Then my palm did the thing it does when a room doesn't answer. 2 presses against the wood, like a secret handshake with the house. The house didn't squeeze back. I slipped the bobby pin into the tiny hole, felt for the catch, and turned. The knob gave with a sound like a throat clearing. On the floor, under the sink where kids tuck everything they can't hold, was Julia, curled, too still, a pharmacy bottle on its side, the label a blur, the cap somewhere near the tub. The air smelled like soap and a decision she should never have had to make. "Emma," I said, warm and quiet, the way you talk to a skittish animal. "Grab my phone, kitchen counter." I knelt. "Jules, it's me. Hey, you're okay. You're safe." She opened her eyes halfway, and the relief that crossed her face was a sentence I will never stop translating. I have never loved a rule as much as I loved the one that stood up in my head then. Procedure beats panic. I slid my hand under Julia's shoulder and checked. Breathing, pulse, responsive, pupils. "Stay with me, sweetheart." My fingers found the bottle, read enough letters to know I wasn't qualified for the next 30 seconds, and I called 911. I have made 1,000 phone calls. This one emptied the world. "Bon, what's your emergency?" "My name is..." I said it. "I'm at address. 10-year-old female. Possible ingestion. Conscious. Breathing." The dispatcher's voice was calm in the way that makes your chest behave. She told me to keep Julia on her side, clear the space, look for other bottles, note the time. "Is there an adult with you?" I wanted to laugh at the question. "Yes," I said, meaning myself. My daughter is here too. Stay on the line, she said. First responders are 3 minutes out. I rubbed Julia's knuckles with my thumb because that is what I do when Emma gets carsick. 2 presses, I said to her palm. She pressed once, a whisper of a squeeze, a message from a place without grammar. Got you, I told her hand, then told the dispatcher what I saw. Color, breath rate, the shape of her answer to her name. Emma, I said without looking up. Put the dog in your room, shoes by the door, porch light on. Emma nodded like a soldier who had been training for a very specific war. I saw her braid loosen at the temple and the way she tucked it back with fingers that were still little. When the siren arrived, it did not sound like a movie. It sounded like someone else's Tuesday driving into my hallway. 2 paramedics appeared at my bathroom threshold with a kindness I will send cards to for the rest of my life. Hey, Julia, one said, voice pitched to the right age. We're going to take care of you. Big job for you is just keep breathing. They did what professionals do. Numbers, checks, a line of questions I answered like a stenographer for a life I loved. Last meal, allergies, medications in the house, none. Any chronic conditions, no. Time of possible ingestion, unknown. I gave them the window like I was handing over a photograph. They lifted her to the gurney with reverence. I kissed her hair and said the thing I say when Emma looks at me from the diving board. You're not alone. To the paramedic, I said the other sentence I had practiced in my head for years without knowing. I'm the caregiver right now. I'll ride with her. Ma'am, he said. We'll make room. On the way to the ambulance, I found Emma's eyes. 2 things, I said, holding up my fingers like a list could be a rope. 1. Text Grandma, need you now. Come sit with me. House key under planter. 2. Put the blue hoodie in my tote. Emma's chin went up like a bridge. The back of the ambulance smelled like plastic incompetence. They clipped a pulse ox to Julia's finger and wrapped her in a blanket that had already warmed itself. The paramedic, name tag Soto, handed me a clipboard. Contacts, he said gently. Parent or guardian. Her mom, I said, and said Claire's number from memory, my mouth choosing speed over history. She's out. I almost said traveling, almost said late, almost built a story to wrap around the thing that is just a fact. I'll call her from your phone if that's okay. He nodded. We'll try her too. I texted Claire first because voices carry too much. Hospital. Come now. Julia's okay-ish, but we need you. Hospital name. I'm with her. Then, because I am the kind of woman who prints out field trip permission slips, I added, ER intake will ask for consent. Text me yes, if you're in transit. I didn't expect an emoji. I expected the sentence that arrives when you have a child. The phone did not light up. In the ambulance, Julia made a small sound that was not a word, but was also not pain. You with me? I asked. She moved her head an inch. I put my hand where she could find it. 2 presses, I reminded the world. She found them, because kids are better at brave than adults think. I told her the truth, gently. We're going to let the experts do the heavy stuff. My job is to stay. ER was all bright light and efficient mercy. We rolled into a room that had been expecting us for 3 minutes. Nurses went about their choreography, and I stepped into the corner where parents wear their bodies like spare gowns, present, washable, necessary. The doctor asked for the bottle. I handed it over with the label facing up because I think part of me believes neatness can undo anything. Were there others? He asked. Bathroom only, I said. Medicine cabinet is adult vitamins and dust. I wanted him to know we are not the sort of house that leaves danger on the coffee table. He nodded without judgment, because professionals know shame is a terrible sedative. Did she say anything? He asked. She looked for me when I said her name. I said. She pressed my hand twice. He understood somehow. Okay, he said, to his team and to me. We'll handle the rest. I stepped into the hall to call Emma. Grandma? I asked, and my daughter handed the phone over like a relay baton. On my way, my mother said. Emma's making the spare bed. Drive safe, I said, and felt like a liar because the only safe that mattered was already moving under fluorescent lights. Then I called Claire. It rang 6 times, then slid to voicemail, and I heard her recorded laughter telling me to leave it after the beep. I did the practiced thing. Facts, terms, next. Claire, it's me. We're at hospital. Possible ingestion. She's breathing. She's with me, and the ER team is working. Please come now. If you can't, text consent so they can proceed. I'll keep everything in writing and send you the room number as soon as I have it. I hung up, texted the same, and added, received? Because some days hope needs a verb. A nurse with a braid that did not move even when she did came out. We're starting fluids, she said. She asked if you were still here. The relief that ripped through my sternum felt like a new kind of gravity. Always, I said, and meant it like a vow. Time in an ER is elastic. It moves the way honey does in a cold kitchen. Slow, sticky, determined. I cannot tell you if 30 minutes or 3 hours passed before the doctor returned with the face professionals wear when they are stitching a parent to the present. She's stable, he said. We're monitoring. We'll likely admit overnight for observation. I nodded the way you nod when a verdict is kinder than the ones you wrote in your head. Can I sit with her? I asked, as if he would say no and the building would vanish. Of course, he said. You her aunt? But today, I said, and he nodded like he speaks fluent family. In the chair at her bedside, I learned a new quiet, the one where machines speak in tiny green numbers and the blanket weighs just right. Julia's breath evened. Her face relaxed into the kind of sleep that doesn't ask the body to solve a puzzle. I texted Emma, asleep, Grandma? And got a photo of my mother's slippers by our door in return. I cried once. 2 tears, efficient, and then put them away because everything else in the room had a job. From the hallway TV, a weather map told me rain would keep falling. I took out an index card from my tote, because of course I did, and wrote what the next room would need. Facts, time, intake, bottle label, initial labs. Terms, I'm present. Consent sought. Communications in writing. Next, notify parent guardian again. Room number, ask for received. I took a picture of the card and sent it to my own email with the subject line, Proof ER, Julia, initial notes. Not because I wanted evidence against anyone, but because panic forgets nouns. I wanted words later when 2 a.m. came with opinions. My phone buzzed. For a second I expected gratitude, or fury, or a simple on my way. Instead it was a photo, cocktails, a caption that said, 1 more hour of adulting then momming I swear, posted to a story meant for friends who clap at sunset. I stared at the screen until the pixels went soft. Then, I turned the phone face down and looked at the child who had chosen my bathroom floor as the place to stop pretending she was fine. There's a script I wish someone handed every adult who finds themselves in a room like that. It would fit on a sticky, ER copy-paste, keep it boring. I'm the caregiver on site. Parent is name, number. Please proceed with necessary care. I'll keep them updated. Please note in the chart that I'm present. I said those words out loud to the nurse when she came in to adjust the IV. She typed them, not because my phrases were magic, but because clear is the kindest thing you can be in a room built to remember. At some point, the world shifted from emergency to after. A tech brought me a warm blanket and called me Han, which is the way the Midwest hugs you without using arms. I texted Claire again. Room. Her color's back. Please come now. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. The absence of a sentence can feel like a verdict. Emma's goodnight text arrived with a photo of the blue hoodie folded on my bed at home. "It smells like you," she wrote. "It's funny the things you are grateful for in a hospital at 11:42 p.m. A hoodie, a child's two-sentence text, an IV beeping its opinion that life is worth insisting on." When the nurse finally leaned against the doorway and said, "We've got her," my body remembered how to sit like a person who isn't hovering. I took a breath the shape of a room with 4 walls and a ceiling that wasn't falling. That's when my phone lit up with a message from Claire. It wasn't on my way. It wasn't received. It wasn't thank you or what happened or I'm outside. It was a question with a price tag. I read it twice, because sometimes the brain will not let a sentence enter without checking it for sharp corners. And that, more than the siren, more than the locked door, more than the beeping and the signatures, was the moment when a friendship quietly burned down on the launching pad. The screen lit my hands blue. "Claire, do I have to change my flight? It's like $200. Are you sure it's serious?" I read it twice because my brain refused to accept a sentence that balanced a child on one side and a change fee on the other. In the bed, Julia's monitors hummed their small choir. A nurse slid a chart into a slot and mouthed, "Stable." I nodded and stared at the number 200, like it was a weather report I could argue with. I typed, deleted, typed again. I wanted to send a paragraph that could reach across an ocean and grab her by the shoulders. I sent a receipt request instead. "Vitomisi recommends overnight admission. Please text yes to consent for treatment so I can show staff. Room?" 3 dots, disappeared, came back. "Claire, can the nurses handle it? I land tomorrow night. I have meetings." Then a second bubble before I could inhale. "If you really need me there, I'll try to change. But it's $200. I looked at Julia's lashes, sticky with the salt of a day, and at the IV that was singing her back towards steady. I answered like a clerk, not a cousin. "Nicarax, you started fluids, monitoring, admitting overnight. Terms, I'm with her. Staff needs parental consent. Next, please reply yes to consent and text your ETA. Claire." "Yes, do whatever they say. Send me receipts and I'll reimburse. Please tell her I love her. I'll see what I can do about the flight." It was something, the yes, a single syllable that keeps the world from grinding. I read it out loud for the nurse and she nodded, documenting in the chart. "Consent via text from parent, mother." I wanted to be grateful without being furious. I settled on useful. The nurse, braid that never moved, gave me a look that managed to be kind and also an instruction manual. "She's stable. If you need to sleep, we can set up a recliner." Sleep. I remembered the word the way you remember a password from an old job. "I'll stay," I said. My voice sounded like a person who had already chosen a chair. In the hallway, I called my mother to confirm the relay we'd set in motion. "I'm staying," I said. "Emma's with you?" She was. My mother had tucked her in, the blue hoodie folded like a second pillow. "Text received," Mom said, learning my language because mothers study their daughters too. I returned to the bed and texted Claire again, because information is a pillow you can't hand someone across time zones, but you can try. Me. She asked if I was still here. I said yes. We're admitted. If you change flights, send details so I can tell her your ETA. Claire. Okay, trying. It's such a mess here. The airline is crazy. The thing about an ER at midnight is that everyone believes their storm is the loudest. Ours hissed quietly in the wires. A tech brought me a warm blanket. I tucked it around my legs and wrote the first card of the night because index cards do not panic. ER Night 1, keepable. Facts, admitted. Fluids, vitals stable. Terms, I'm present. Consent via text. All updates in writing. Next. Wake nurse if color. Alertness dips. Update parent 6 a.m. Ask for PD's floor transfer timeline. I slid the card into my tote and watched Julia sleep like a person whose body had decided to stay. My phone buzzed again. For a flash I hoped for on my way. It was a story post. A skyline through restaurant glass. 2 cocktails sweating on a napkin. Captioned, "Grown-up time before the chaos." I put the phone face down and told the ceiling, Do not let this turn me into a sermon. At 2:17 a.m., Julia surfaced. Her eyes fluttered toward me with the question children trust you to answer. I leaned in. I'm here, I said. 2 presses? She found them, weak, precise. We're okay, I lied gently, because sometimes you loan tomorrow a little faith. The night ironed itself into morning. At 6:03, I sent the promised update to Claire. Vitals stable, moving to Ped's floor in an hour. She slept. She asked for you. Claire. Tell her mom loves her. On hold with airline. If it's $200, I might just come tomorrow with my original. Is she actually okay? I wanted to send photos of the IV, the monitor, the way a child's face looks when she is trying not to throw up fear. Instead, I wrote, she's okay because we're here. Doctor wants observation in labs. Please come today. I'll text Ped's room number. No reply. Dots. Vanish. I added a timestamp to my notes because the future likes clocks more than adjectives. On the Ped's floor, the nurse showed me the parent chair that folds into a bed if you ignore the word bed. I unfolded it anyway. I tucked the blanket around my legs and made a nest the way moms do when we weren't given a script. Julia slept again, thumb near her mouth like a younger version of herself had loaned her comfort. At 8:15, the pediatrician rounded. She was brisk without being rude, which is my favorite personality in a hospital. We'll keep her through the day, she said. Labs at 10, then a light lunch if she tolerates it. She tilted her head. Are you mom? Today, I'm the one who's here, I said. Her mom is in transit. She wrote something on the chart that was more useful than my essay. I texted Claire the PD's details. Silence. My thumb hovered over the call button and then chose documentation instead of debate. I wrote a 3-paragraph email because phones eat nuance and I needed a record I could forward to whichever room needed it next. Subject, proof, Julia, admitted for observation, PEDs. Facts, ER fluids overnight, admitted PEDs, labs at 10U, vitals stable, sleeps between checks, asked for you. Terms, I'm on site. Nurses have consent via your text. All updates in writing. We'll send room number to you, plus, if you wish, any family you designate. Next. Please confirm ETA or confirm you'll arrive tomorrow so I can set expectations for her. Please reply received. I CC'd myself because 2 a.m. me trusts sent more than said. Within minutes, the email pinged read but not replied. I added, read 829 to the margin of my card and felt like a petty clerk, and also, somehow, a grown-up. Sue Claire finally texted. Received. Can you put the phone by her ear? I'll say hi. I did. Julia's eyes stayed closed, but a smile pulled shallow at the corner of her mouth. Claire's voice was bright, too bright, like singing at a funeral. Hey, Bug! Mommy loves you! Nurse is taking care, okay? I'm working on coming. Be brave! Julia didn't speak. She lifted her hand and found mine. We pressed twice. After the call, I sent 2 lines to hold the room together. She heard you. We'll update after labs. Claire. Thanks. You're a saint. Send me what I owe you. Money again. Like a drumbeat. It wasn't wrong to offer reimbursement. It was wrong that it was the only certainty in her sentences. The day unspooled in hospital increments. 10 yards labs. 11:30 apple juice trial. 12:15 nurse smile. I sent each milestone as facts without adjectives. Claire replied with stickers and the occasional, "You're amazing." I didn't need amazing. I needed a mom. Around 1:10, a social worker stopped by. She introduced herself with the kind respect that says I speak to adults like adults. We check in after any pediatric admission, she said. Is there anything you need? I wanted to hand her a wish. Bring her mother to this room now. I said, we're okay. I'm the friend. I have consent in writing. Her mom is trying to get back. She nodded. If, later, anyone has questions about supervision or follow-up, ask them to put it in writing and to include what they need, from whom. I loved her like a translator in a foreign city. Copy, I said, and wrote it word for word on another card. At 2:47, a message from Claire. Ugh, airline says fee is actually $220 plus fare difference. Can you ask the doctor if this is really like life or death? Because if not, I'll just stick to my flight tomorrow. I literally can't with these people. I looked at Julia's socked feet. I thought about the moment at my bathroom door when the bobby pin found the mechanism and the world slid open to a version of itself I had not rehearsed. The doctor had used the phrase, necessary observation. No one had said, life or death. That was not the point. The point was Julia asked for you. I typed slowly, the way you type when a sentence needs to land with all its bones lined up. Doctor says necessary to monitor today. Probable discharge tomorrow if labs stay good. She asked for you today. If you cannot come, I need to tell her when she will see you so she can anchor. Nothing. Then, tell her tomorrow night. I'll bring her a present. Another ping. A photo of a boutique bag with a glossy ribbon. This one? I set the phone on the windowsill because anger near a sleeping child is a bad roommate. I breathed 4 in, 6 out until I could feel my jaw again. Then I took a picture of Julia's hand in mine. Not her face, not a vulnerability to be traded, just a hand, and sent it with one line. She has what she needs today. If this were a movie, maybe that would have unlocked something in Claire. If life were a sermon, maybe repentance would ride in on a later flight. Instead, reality did what it does at 3:12 p.m. A nurse announced a volunteer with a cart of books. Julia's eyes opened. Truck? Book? The volunteer asked. Julia nodded. We read 3 pages. I counted 6 slow throws of an imaginary orange ball between sentences because rituals survive in rooms where plans don't. At 4:33, my phone buzzed. Can you send me the admit paperwork? I'll need it for insurance. Also, if they give prescriptions, make sure to tell them she only likes the bubblegum kind. Will do, I wrote, pasted please reply received to the nurse's email with the forms, and filed everything under a name a judge could read. YYMMDD admission, Julia V1 PDF. By evening, the pediatrician approved soft foods. The tech brought a tray and told a knock-knock joke so corny it did the work anyway. Julia smiled with her whole face for the first time since the bathroom. I texted Claire. She ate half a cup of applesauce. Claire. Yay, send pic? No faces, I reminded myself in my camera roll. I sent the spoon, the empty half, the book about trucks open to the page with the crane. See you tomorrow night, I added, because I'd promised truth to this child, and I refused to let adults make me a liar. When the room settled, I made a nest on the folding chair and chose my job for the night. Be the adult who stays. I texted Emma goodnight and got a photo of her stuffed fox tucked under the blue hoodie. My mother wrote, We're okay. We're reading 3 pages. Soup tomorrow. I replied, received, and put the phone face down again. Not because I was done talking, but because talking wasn't going to land a plane. Sometime after 9, Claire sent a final message for the day. Thank you for everything. I'll Venmo you for parking and snacks. You're a lifesaver. The compliment slid off me like rain off old paint. Useful, polite, unsticky. I typed the only sentence I had left that could hold itself up. You're her mother. She needs you. I didn't add today again. I didn't repeat $200. I didn't send the photo of the skyline with the drinks. I folded the blanket tighter, pressed Julia's palm twice, and felt her return them in her sleep like a contract. If you're listening and you've ever had a message like that detonate your faith in someone, here's the only copy-paste I can offer that won't burn your tongue. Crisis text template when a parent is away. Facts, child status in 1-2 lines. Terms, who's present, what consent is needed, in writing. Next, specific ask. Yes to consent. ETA. Please reply received. It will not make anyone who doesn't want to show up. It will make the record clear enough that the next room believes you. At 11:04, the floor dimmed to night mode. Monitors blinked like airport lights in the distance. I wrote the 3-line log I would use tomorrow when a caseworker with a clipboard asked for what happened. Admit 0043, fluids, consent via text from mother, vitals stable, PEDS 20, labs, observation, apple juice tolerated, soft foods at 1810, parent, mother not present, ETA tomorrow night, child asked for mother today. I tucked the card away and let my eyes close for the seconds between beeps. The chair complained. My back filed a grievance. Julia dreamed of trucks, I hope. And the number 200 flickered in my mind like a streetlight that won't commit to on or off. Hospitals teach you the shape of time. Morning arrives as lab draws. Noon wears a plastic lid and tastes like apple juice. Night is a hallway light that never quite learns dim. The chair at Julia's bedside unfolded into something the label called a bed. I unfolded too, into the adult who stayed. Night 1 ended with the beeps leveling into a lullaby. I texted Claire the way you tell a pilot your runway is clear. Vital steady. PEDS floor room. She asked for you. ETA? 3 dots blinked like a promise, and then fell asleep. Julia did too, thumb near her mouth like the past had come back to volunteer. I wrote my 3-line log, admit time, consent via text, lab plan, and put the card in my tote like proof that the night had behaved. By morning, the pediatrician rounded with the kind of voice that can hold both parents and charts. We'll watch her through the day, she said. Labs at 10, food trial at noon. I nodded like a backup dancer and took my mark. Julia woke hungry for truck books, and also not hungry at all, so we let the book feed her first. I counted 6 slow throws of an imaginary orange ball between pages, because rituals keep rooms from eating you. I sent updates as facts, terms. Next, the only grammar I trusted, facts, labs at 10, vitals stable, terms, I'm present, consent on file. Next, food trial at noon, please send ETA. Claire replied, received, and a sticker that said, yay. It slid off me like a damp label. At 2:47 p.m., she texted, fee is actually $220 plus fare diff. I'll just come tomorrow night. Is she okay enough? I stared at the word enough until it lost meaning, then answered like a clerk. Doctor says necessary observation today. Probable discharge tomorrow if labs stay good. Julia asked for you today. Night 2 happened because the noon applesauce didn't sit right, and because anxiety sometimes throws its own vital sign. The pediatrician said, let's give her one more night to be safe. Safe. The word landed on the bed like a weighted blanket we were allowed to use. Julia dozed. I learned that hospital. Coffee can be both terrible and holy. I texted my mother, one more night, and she replied with a picture of Emma asleep, the blue hoodie folded like a faithful dog. Claire posted a boomerang of city lights with the caption, one more day of adulting before mom mode, our self-care. I turned my phone face down, then face up, then forced myself to type the one sentence I owed her. Discharge likely tomorrow, 11/1. Please confirm pickup plan, Claire. Tomorrow night, I said. I'll send a car for you. Not for Julia, for me, as if the child were luggage. At 6:03 a.m. on day 3, Labs smiled. Julia's color matched the picture of her from October. Leaf pile hair, ready laugh. She asked, home? With that tilt kids use when they want a contract, not a story. Soon, I said. Working on it together? The pediatrician handed me the after-visit summary and walked me through what to watch for, what to say, and what to bring back if anything worried us. You've been a rock, she said in the tone professionals use when they're afraid words might break a mother in half. You mean a chair? I said, and we both smiled. I asked for the things the next room would need. Printed after visit summary, AVS, with instructions. Discharge note signed. Medication list. None prescribed. Note that weighted items quiet corner at home are comfort supports, not sleep devices. Nurse's receipt acknowledging mother consent via text and my presence as caregiver on site. Social work check-in note, because admissions flag systems. They handed me that stack with the efficiency of a hotel handing you your coat. Routine and respectful. I named each file in my phone before I forgot. Then I sent discharge Julia AVS V1 PDF 35D05. Note, consent by text, mom, V1, PDF. But pass check-in V1T. I texted Claire again, now that sometime today had narrowed to late morning. Discharge 11:31 does plan. She sent a screenshot of the airline app. Landing 9:40 p.m. I'll meet you at your place after. Julia asked for home today. If you can't come, I'll take her to my house for a rest. Then we'll arrange handoff this evening. Claire. Don't take her anywhere. I'm her mother. I said tonight. The words take in her were barbed wire in a bubble. I didn't climb them. I built a fence out of procedure instead. Hospital discharges at 12:10. With no parent present, I'll bring her to a safe, familiar place to rest and we'll coordinate pickup in writing. Please confirm time location for evening handoff. No answer. The volunteer with the book cart came one more time. Trucks? She asked. Julia nodded like a sunrise. We read 3 pages, then traced the crane's hook with our fingers. I pressed her palm twice. I'm here, and felt her answer. Me too. At 12:22, discharge arrived like a bell. I signed for a wheelchair because Julia wanted to ride like an astronaut. In the lobby, the air smelled like coffee and hand gel and other people's relief. I texted Claire from the sliding doors. Discharged, bringing her to my place for meal and nap. Please confirm pickup 6:00 p.m. at Family Resource Center, room A1, public staffed. Claire, I land at 9:40. Wait for me. Child needs rest now. I'll keep everything in writing and meet you at A1 at 6 unless you propose 2 other times. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb except for Mom and school and pointed the car toward the block that remembered us. At home, I built the landing strip on the coffee table. Hug, wash, snack, tour, play. We followed it like a map. Julia checked the calm corner lamp and patted the anchored bookcase, whispering, safe. Sometimes that word is an object you can hold. My mother brought soup because soup is what you bring when language gets thin. Julia ate without making the face that means we've asked too much. She dozed with the blue octopus on her stomach like a paperweight against the wind. I texted Claire a photo of the tour list, no faces, and wrote, Sleeping. We'll meet you 6:00 p.m. at A1 unless I hear other options by 4:05 p.m. chimed without a reply. I resent the note with, Please reply received. Factor 411. My phone buzzed. Not Claire. Mom. Door. I opened it to Officer Martinez, his partner, and the particular politeness that means someone has dialed 911 using words instead of numbers. Afternoon, he said, palms open. We got a call about a child here without parental permission. Behind him, the hallway felt suddenly crowded with my neighbor's curious shapes. I don't know what face I made, but the officer softened his voice. You the friend? Yes, I said. I'm the adult who was with her at the hospital. We were discharged at 12:22. I've been trying to coordinate a public handoff for 6 p.m. in writing because her mother's flight lands late. He nodded, the way professionals nod when the nouns are in the right places. Can we see paper? He asked. I handed him the stack I had collected, named and placed by the door like a tray for proof. The after-visit summary, the consent note, the social work check-in. And Mom? He asked. In transit, according to her last message. She asked me to send receipts and reimbursements. I didn't add the $sign. The officer didn't need a price tag to do his job. He stepped aside so I could keep the doorway as a porch, not a stage. Here's what I'd like to do, he said. For everyone's safety, and so the record is clean, let's involve CPS. They'll do a quick assessment and may suggest a 72-hour placement in the place the child currently feels safe while they verify details. His partner met Julia's eyes and waved like a neighbor. Sound okay? He asked, and even though the situation was a knot, the question was a bow. I texted Claire immediately, with the exact language the room would need later. Police responded to your call. Officer Martinez is here. I provided discharge papers and offered 6 p.m. public handoff. He's asked CPS to advise for a 72-hour safe placement while they verify. I'll keep this in writing. Please reply received. I turned to the officer and used my kitchen voice because grown men with badges are still humans, and kitchens teach you how to talk to humans. May I grab her comfort items? And may we sit at the table with the lamp on when CPS arrives? He smiled the smile you give someone who has switched from panic to procedure. Yes to both. While we waited, I set the mini-schedule back on the coffee table. Hug, wash, snack, tour, play, because ritual calms the adult too. I pulled the lap pad over Julia's thighs. She pressed my hand twice. Somewhere in the hallway, a neighbor whispered the shape of my name. Claire's message finally landed. I called because you took my child. Do not let CPS keep her from me. I'm her mother. I'm calling my lawyer. The officer, reading my screen over my shoulder because I showed him, exhaled through his nose in the way professionals do when their job becomes a seesaw. You're doing the right thing, he said, keeping it in writing, not amplifying. He radioed dispatch. House is calm, child is regulated, adult present is cooperative, awaiting CPS. He looked at me. Want me to say anything else? Would you mind adding that we offered a public handoff at 6 p.m.? He nodded and spoke it into the room where records stay longer than opinions. CPS arrived like people who know their way around a fragile afternoon. Ms. Hayes introduced herself and sat at our table with her elbows off the edge like manners might help. She glanced around the room, and her eyes did the inventory that will someday live in a report. Visual schedule at eye height, calm corner lamp, bookcase anchored, weighted blanket folded on the chair, kitchen clean enough to eat joy at. Tell me what happened, she said, but not like a cross-exam, like a librarian asking for the right title. I handed her my 3-paragraph, facts, terms, next. That's unresponsive in bathroom Wednesday, 911, ER admit, consent via text from mother, PD's observation, discharge 12/22 today. Terms, no parent on site at discharge, I'm friend, caregiver, all communication with mother in writing, offered 6 p.m. public handoff, police called by mother, officers on site now, child calm. Next, open to 72-hour temporary placement where child feels safe. Will coordinate all contact in writing. Request that all concerns be documented as conduct, not adjectives. She read it, nodded, and thanked me for writing in verbs. We'll recommend the 72 hours here, she said, with supervised visits as appropriate, until we complete the initial assessment. She turned to Julia and spoke at her eye level. You'll sleep where your body already knows the pillow, she said, which is the kind of sentence guardians should be taught day one. I texted Claire the recommendation exactly as Ms. Hayes phrased it, and added, You can see her tomorrow at time with a CPS supervisor present. Please keep communication in writing. Claire sent back 3 messages in a row, each shorter and more exclamation points than the last. I didn't answer. Quiet hours, 24, began the minute CPS sat down, even with relatives. I owed this child a room that did not vibrate. Ms. Hayes stood, shook my hand, and told Officer Martinez they were looped. He tipped 2 fingers like a man who prefers calm to theater. We'll note safe, regulated, he said. If the other party calls tonight, we have the report. After they left, the house exhaled. I set the stove timer to 10 and sat where I could see the porch light. My mother washed 2 bowls like prayer. Julia traced the parasaurolophus on the card and whispered, Home? Again, but softer this time, like a person who believes the answer. I wrote the evening's 3-line log because rooms forget if you let them. 12:22 p.m. Discharge from PEDS, no parent present, child to my home, public handoff offered 6 4:11 to 5:05. Police and CPS on site. Recommended 72-hour safe placement here. Supervised visits. Comms. Mother contacted. All in writing. Quiet hours. 24. Initiated. And then I did something quieter than brave. I put the blue octopus on Julia's chest, folded the weighted blanket at her feet, waking regulation only, always, and turned the porch light to dusk. The first time the word kidnapping arrived with my name, it didn't wear sirens. It wore text bubbles. Claire. You took my child. This is kidnapping. I'm calling my lawyer. Do not give her to CPS. Officer Martinez saw the messages because I held my phone where he could read without feeling watched. He didn't flinch, which helped my heart remember how to sit down. You're doing the right thing, he said, voice low. Keep everything in writing. We'll document what we actually see. What he saw was a living room that had practiced being safe. The visual schedule sat at eye height. The calm corner lamp glowed like it had been taught to whisper. The bookcase was anchored. The weighted blanket lived folded on a chair because in our house it is a waking tool, not a sleep device. Julia's breath had stopped doing the emergency rhythm. She pressed my palm twice. I'm here. And I pressed back. Me, too. Ms. Hayes from CPS arrived with a tote that looked like it had survived 100 afternoons. She sat at our table and let the room breathe. I'm going to write a 72-hour safety plan, she said, pen already ready. It keeps the child where her body is regulated while we verify the basics. She looked at Julia first, not me. You get a say too, she told her, and I felt my shoulders drop 2 inches because adults who speak to kids at eye level are my religion. We went through the facts like a grocery list we could finish before the soup cooled. Hospital discharge. 12:22 p.m. to caregiver. Me. Consent via text from mother. Child status. Calm, eating, napping, responding to routines. Mother status. Out of town, ETA unknown, communications by text only. Caregiver offer, public handoff at 6 p.m. in staffed room A1 at the Family Resource Center. Ms. Hayes wrote it down in a hand that had learned not to make a stage out of ink. For the next 72 hours, she said, Julia sleeps here, where she is regulated. Mother will have supervised contact at the center. You, she looked at me, will keep everything in writing. No doorstep discussions. If anyone knocks, you use your door line. I nodded and said the sentence I'd been practicing like a poem. Door line, home edition. We're resting the house. Please email purpose +2 noon options. She smiled like a teacher who recognizes a student who did the reading. Officer Martinez asked the question rooms like this require. Is there a handoff plan for tomorrow? Ms. Hayes turned her clipboard toward me. 10 a.m., room A1, 20 minutes, CPS staff present, she said. We'll observe the interaction, keep a log, and send a short note to the file. That keeps the court calendar from guessing. I texted Claire exactly what the plan now said. Per CPS, supervised visit tomorrow 10 a.m., Family Resource Center room A1, staffed. 72-hour safety plan places Julia here while regulated. All coordination in writing. Please reply received. Claire, this is insane. I'm her mother. Do not let them write safety plan about me. I typed with the calm fingers I save for emails to tax offices and schools. Facts. CPS observed and wrote plan. Police note. House calm. Child regulated. Public handoff offered 6 p.m. Terms. I'll follow the safety plan. Communications in writing. Next. See you 10 a.m. Staff present. She didn't respond. My phone was a small aquarium where bubbles rose and popped without sentences. When they left, officer, then CPS, the house did not feel like a courtroom. It felt like soup and the blue octopus and the sound of a dishwasher that believes in ordinary. Mom set 2 bowls on the table and put her hand over mine. We'll keep today, she said. It was better than a speech. That night I wrote the first safety plan card and taped it inside the front of my binder, because in my house even fear gets a tab. 2-hour safety plan, copy-paste. Placement, child sleeps here, regulated. Visits, supervised. Family Resource Center Room A1, 10 a.m. tomorrow, 20 minutes. CPS staff present. Toms. In writing only. Public meetups. No doorstep. If contact escalates. Quiet hours. 24. Reply received only. Route all concerns to CPS email. I set quiet hours for everyone except mom and school. Not a punishment. A pressure valve. I allowed one-word replies, received, and nothing with adjectives. When my cousin texted, "What's going on?" I pasted, "Well, we keep this in writing with the right folks. We're okay." It felt rude and was, in fact, rescue. Morning, 9:35 a.m. The Family Resource Center smelled like crayons and hand gel. Room A1 had 2 chairs, a whiteboard, and a basket of fidgets that needed a wipe. A staffer named Kendra introduced herself and said, "We write verbs, not adjectives." I loved her on the spot. Julia squeezed my hand the way she does when a room is new. 2 presses? I asked. She found them. We reviewed our mini-schedule: hug, hands wash, 10-minute visit, snack, and I pointed at every picture because pictures keep rooms honest. 10:12 a.m. Claire arrived late, sunglasses on like a defense. She swept into the room with a bag that promised retail therapy and a voice that wanted applause. "There's my baby," she sang, loud enough to audition for the hallway. Julia flinched, small. Kendra's pen paused in the air like a traffic cop. "Let's begin," she said at a friendly volume that knew microphones aren't kindness. Claire tried for an update from me without looking at me. "So, are we good? I'll take her after this." Kendra answered before I had to. "Today is a supervised visit," she said. "The safety plan has placement here while we complete the immediate verification. We'll schedule next steps in writing." Claire's mouth made a shape I recognized from the texts. "This is kidnapping," she said, as if a bigger word could hand her a key. Kendra didn't look up from her clipboard. "We avoid charged terms in this room," she said gently. "We describe conduct. Today, your daughter is present, regulated, and engaging. Please proceed." Julia's eyes landed on the blue octopus in my tote. I offered it. She shook her head and chose a fidget ring from the basket instead. She sat near her mother without touching, the way you sit by a friend you're not sure knows your name anymore. Claire held up the boutique bag. "Look what Mommy got you!" A pink hoodie with glitter letters. Julia looked at the floor. "Truck book?" she whispered. Claire laughed too bright. "We're not doing trucks today. We're celebrating!" We had 10 minutes. 10 minutes can teach a judge more than a forum thread. Kendra watched with a kindness that wrote everything down. Claire scrolled her phone twice, asked me for discharge papers, and then remembered to ask her daughter if she had slept. "At my house," Julia said, and the sentence was a weather report no adjective could edit. When time ended, Kendra stood like a person lifting an invisible curtain. "Thank you," she said. "We'll walk you out and follow up in writing." Claire tried to pivot the goodbye into a hallway debrief. Kendra stayed in the doorway. "We recommend no debrief," she said. "It doesn't help the child regulate." Claire looked at me like I was a locked door. "You're going to pay for this," she said under her breath. I wanted to answer in 3 languages. Instead, I used the one I'd promised to keep. Yes, no, plus 1 sentence. "No," I said. "I'm going to keep it in writing." Back home, I typed a 3-paragraph summary. Facts, terms, next, and copied the people who needed to remember something besides their feelings. Subject, proof, 72 HR safety plan. Day 1, supervised visit, summary, facts. 10 a.m., supervised visit room A1, child regulated, 10-minute interaction, staff observed, mother late, 10:12, gift offered, child requested book, no incidents. Terms, placement remains here. All comms in writing, no doorstep, public staffed settings only. Next, request tomorrow, visit same time. Confirm in writing. Attach Kendra's brief note when available. Please reply received. Kendra emailed received 2 minutes later with her observation sheet attached. The boxes contained the kind of sentences that survive cross-examination. Child-initiated regulation strategy. Caregiver responded with visual schedule. No safety concerns observed. Claire's reply came an hour later. I don't agree to any of this. I'm her mother. I'll be at your house at 7 to pick her up. I pasted my door line and pressed send. We're resting the house. Please email purpose plus 2 noon options. All coordination remains in writing per the safety plan. Public locations only. I printed the safety plan, Kendra's note, and my summary, and slid them behind a new tab in the binder. Tab 6, Safety Plan and Visits. I labeled a fresh thumb drive, Exhibits, Safety Plan, and put it in the pocket because redundancy is a kindness. Neighbors did what neighbors do. Ms. Nora from downstairs knocked with muffins and eyes that had seen 1,000 school offices. No debrief, I said gently, and she nodded like a woman who had carried porches through winters. Another neighbor texted, Heard something? I pasted. Awkward neighbor line. We're doing okay, thanks. We keep everything in writing with the right folks. That afternoon, Ms. Hayes called, from a number I saved as CPS, Hayes, and said, Thanks for the clear summary. We'll keep 10 a.m. tomorrow. If mother escalates, reply received, start quiet hours, and forward to me. She also said the sentence that moved the calendar forward. Because the hospital admission triggered an incident report, and we now have a safety plan, a review hearing is likely this week. You will not need to perform. Bring rows, not speeches. I wrote rows, not speeches on a card and taped it to my fridge. The phone buzzed again, an unknown number with the bright energy of a dare. I answered like a clerk. Please send purpose plus 2 noon options to my email. I'm not available by phone. The line went quiet. I added a row to the timeline. Unknown number. Refuse phone. Route to email. 3:41 p.m. That night, Julia fell asleep with the blue octopus exactly where it had learned to live, on her chest like a paperweight that keeps storms from blowing papers onto the floor. I folded the weighted blanket at her feet and set the porch light to dusk, because habits are the opposite of drama. Before bed, I wrote a card for tomorrow so my nervous system wouldn't try to write a novel at 3 a.m. Day 2, Safety Plan, Keepable. 8 School FYI, no action requested. 10, Supervised Visit A1, 20 Minan. 12, Monday Map for myself, Timeline and Talk Update. 6, Quiet hours begin, received only. All day, speak verbs, not adjectives. If you're listening and you've just had kidnapping thrown at you for being the adult who stayed, here's the copy-paste that kept the room human. Accusation script. I'm cooperating. We keep everything in writing. Here are today's facts and the public plan. Safety plan. Summary. Placement here. Visit supervised. Public only. No doorstep. Quiet hours. 24. After escalations. Reply received. Supervised visit confirmation. Confirm room A1, 10 a.m., 20 min staff present. Please reply received. I didn't win anything that day. I kept it. Sometimes that's what saves a child. At 2:07 a.m., I learned the difference between crisis and the echo after crisis. The house was finally quiet. No officers, no clipboards, yet my hands still vibrated like the siren hadn't parked. I stood in the doorway and watched Julia breathe the slow, even breaths of a child whose body had decided to stay. I turned the porch light to dusk, our signal to ordinary, and wrote 3 lines on an index card because I needed a script more than a speech. SPB, said once through wood. Status, we were safe. The 72-hour safety plan placed Julia here. Plan, supervised visits at room A1. Everything in writing, public handoffs only. Boundary, no doorstep talks. Quiet hours, 24, after escalations. I taped the card above the light switch so my body could find it before my brain did. Day 1 of 3. We kept Tuesday. Morning came in the shape of toast and a mini schedule on the coffee table. Hug, wash, snack, tour, play. Rituals aren't cute, their infrastructure. Julia touched the calm corner lamp, patted the anchored bookcase, and whispered, "Safe," like a label. I answered, "Received," because apparently I had become the kind of mother who talks like a clerk, and also because it works. Before school started, I sent a clean FYI I knew wouldn't spook a teacher. Subject, FYI. Regulation plan this week. No action requested. Visual schedule taped. Lap pad packed. Breaks 5-2. After PE, please offer lap pad first. Thank you for keeping this in writing. 5 minutes later, a thumbs up and got it landed in my inbox. I filed it under this helped because this week everything that held counted. At 10:00 a.m., we returned to room A1 for the supervised visit. Kendra, clipboard kindness, greeted us with, "We write verbs, not adjectives." I loved her for keeping the room human. Claire arrived late, 10:12, sunglasses overhead like a shield. 10 minutes isn't long, but you can learn a lot about co-regulation in 10. Julia chose a fidget ring over a hug. Claire offered a glitter hoodie over the truck book. Kendra's notes stayed boring on purpose. Child remained regulated. Caregiver used visual schedule. No safety concerns observed. I wrote my 3-paragraph, facts, terms, next, and sent it to Ms. Hayes before lunch. Boring is how we kept the day. Afternoon was quiet hours, 24. My cousin texted, "What actually happened?" I pasted the door line. "We keep this in writing with the right folks. We're okay." It felt abrupt and kind at the same time, because children sleep better when adults don't rehearse speeches at 3 p.m. Night brought the echo again. When Julia startled at a dog bark, we practiced our kids' scripts over yogurt spoons. I need quiet. I need heavy. I need a break. That joke hurts. She tried heavy and smiled when the lap pad did its job. I wrote heavy helped in my log like a scientist who had decided feelings deserve data. Day 2 of 3. Procedure beats panic. We started with the Monday map, a 20-minute noon ritual I stole from work and repurposed for living. Update timeline. Add room A1, 10:12 start. Regulated. Refresh table of contents. 1 page. Name new files to the rule. YMD type, subject V. I printed 1 copy for the binder and 1 for Marcus, my attorney, because redundancy is a kindness. He replied received with a tiny thumbs up that made my shoulders lower themselves 2 inches. 10 a.m. came with the second supervised visit. Kendra kept time. Claire kept volume. Julia kept herself. 10 minutes again. No incidents. This time, when Claire said, "Mommy's taking you home tonight," Kendra lifted a palm and read the safety plan verbatim. "Placement remains here until review. Visits are supervised. Any changes must be in writing." I didn't have to be the bad guy. Procedure did it better. Back home, I put up a new card on the fridge because families need copy-paste more than pep talks. Cool-down card, 48 hours. Paper, 10. Update timeline. File, 1. Send 1 email ending, please reply, received. House, 10. Sink reset, 1 surface clear, porch light, dusk. Play, 10. 3 pages, 6 throws, 1 yes, I didn't have to earn. At 2:14 p.m., Ms. Hayes called to confirm what she'd hinted. Review hearing likely this week. "Bring rows, not rumors," she said. Timeline, medical, school, specialist. The judge wants conduct. I wrote rows, not rumors on a sticky and stuck it to my binder's face like an amulet. That evening, an unknown number tried to turn my phone into a stage. I used the sentence that closes curtains. "Please send purpose plus 2 noon options to my email. I'm not available by phone." Then I logged it. Time, number blocked, routed to email, because paper remembers better than adrenaline. Day 3 of 3. Make the record. Let rooms catch up. Morning brought a different kind of echo. Apology-adjacent texts from relatives who had found a version of the story online. I did not audition. I sent my terms. Public, noon, 20, split check, no history, quiet hours, 24, and star-filed anything that sounded like a real repair for 14 days later. Kindness after steady. The third supervised visit was the quietest. Claire arrived on time. No declarations, no bags, just a mother trying for 10 minutes to be the version of herself her daughter needed. Julia sat closer this time and said, "Book?" Claire read softly. Kendra wrote, "Engaged, regulated." When time was up, Julia pressed my palm twice. "I'm trying." And we went to the snack table for applesauce like a normal family in a room with a clipboard. Back home, I built the review packet, 1 page the court could read in 30 seconds. Exhibit A, timeline, grid, when, where, who, what, verbatim. Exhibit B, medical, pediatric note that supports our accommodations, not hazards. Exhibit C, school, IEP excerpts, progress correlated with routine, visual schedule, breaks 5-2, lap pad after PE. Exhibit D, specialist, the plain language line, appropriate and safe, that ought to be printed on teacups. I put the packet on top of the binder with 3 highlighters, order, report, timeline, and a sticky that read, answer mode, yes, no, plus, 1 sentence. Ask for written order. I packed applesauce because courthouses forget to feed you. I packed 2 copies of everything because copiers break when you're scared. That night I did a small, radical thing. I didn't debrief. I tucked Julia in, folded the weighted blanket at her feet, waking regulation only, always, and stood at the window with the kind of quiet that comes from having Rose ready. The porch light clicked to dusk. I didn't try to narrate us to safety. We were already there. Because some of you watch with a pen in your mouth and a note open. Here's the copy-paste that kept our 72 hours from turning into a stage. Cool down toolkit. Pin this. 1. Door line. Home. We're resting the house. Please email purpose plus 2 noon options. Safety plan summary. Email to all parties. The 2-hour placement here. Supervised visits room A1 at 10 a.m. Public locations only. Terms. All communications in writing. No doorstep. Quiet hours, 24, after escalations. Reply received. Next, confirm tomorrow's visit. Attach staff note. Route any concerns to CPS. The school FYI, no action requested. Visual schedule taped. Breaks 5-2, lap pad after PE. Thanks for keeping this in writing. 4 TO. 4 timeline grid, 4 columns. When, where, who, what, verbatim. 5 review packet, top sheet. A timeline. B medical. C school. D specialist. Appropriate and safe. 6 kid scripts. Practice at snack. I need quiet, heavy, a break. That joke hurts. 7 quiet hours. How to. After any hard contact. Allow received only for 24 hours. No replies with adjectives. Log time. Resume at noon. There's a moment in every cooldown when your body asks for a story and your life offers a schedule. I chose schedule. I kept 10-10-10 even when I wanted to scroll. I named files to a rule even when I wanted to name them to a mood. I asked for received instead of applause. And little by little, rooms with clipboards matched the rhythm. On the last night of the 72 hours, I wrote 1 line on my fridge card because I didn't want to make a religion out of paperwork. Middle promise. Gentle in tone, firm in terms, boring on purpose. Julia slept. Emma breathed the sleep of a kid who had watched grown-ups be reliable. The house held. And I realized the cool-down had done more than keep us safe. It had trained the next room to listen in rows. Soft CTA, for engagement. If you've ever had to run a cool-down in your own house, drop the 1 sentence you kept on your fridge this week. Or type, received to anchor someone else's nervous system at 2 a.m. I packed the binder like a lunchbox and told my fear it could ride in the back seat, but it couldn't drive. 12 minutes later, a judge changed our month. We were outside Juvenile 3B by 9:11 a.m. with 2 applesauce pouches, 3 highlighters, and 1 plan. Rose, not rumors. Marcus, my quiet spreadsheet-shaped attorney, tapped the tabs and gave me the morning's mantra. 3 lanes only, he said. Timeline. Hospital. Safety plan. Answer yes, no plus 1 sentence. Ask for a recipe order, not a vibe. I nodded. I had already written it on a card and taped it to my sleeve. Hearing card. Top exhibits. A. Timeline. B. PEDS discharge. C. CPS safety plan plus visit notes. Answer mode. Yes, no plus one sentence. Ask. Please email the written order. I'll reply received. The hallway smelled like copier warm and sanitizer. Ms. Hayes from CPS arrived with her tote and a face I had come to trust. Calm, observational, allergic to adjectives. She handed Marcus a short memo. Child regulated in current placement. 2 supervised visits. No safety concerns observed. Mother late to first visit. Loud effect. Child declined gifts. Requested book. Staff recommends temporary placement where regulated plus supervised contact. It was the kind of paragraph a courtroom can read without caffeine. The guardian ad litem introduced herself, shook my hand, then crouched to Julia's height. Is it okay if I say hello later? Just the 2 of us? She asked. Julia nodded and squeezed my fingers twice. I squeezed back. I'm here. Me too. At 9:29, the bailiff called us in. The room was wood and clock and quiet. Judge Patel took the bench with the expression of a person who has seen every version of panic. Make your record, he said to the county attorney, a sentence that sounds simple until it isn't. The county attorney asked for a continuance without specifics and a generic extension of agency discretion. He said words like concerning and unsettled. Marcus didn't interrupt. He let the adjectives hang until they needed nouns. When our turn came, he stood with our packets already in the clerk's hand. We'll proceed by exhibit, he said. A. Timeline. Wednesday 911. Admit. PED's observation. Discharge 12/22 next day. Public handoff offered. Police, CPS observed house calm. 72-hour safety plan. Supervised visits days 1 and 2. B. Hospital records. Note. PED's discharge. Social work check-in. Consent via text from mother. C. CPS memo and visit notes. Child regulated in current placement. No safety concerns observed. Child requested book. Staff recommend temporary placement where regulated. Supervised contact. He clicked his capped pen against each tab so the judge could walk the path. Relief requested? Judge Patel asked, already reading. Marcus lifted a single sheet titled, Proposed Order, short form, because he believes in delivering the exact door you want someone to walk through. 30-day temporary placement with current caregiver. Supervised contact 3 times weekly at the Family Resource Center. Communications in writing. No doorstep. Agency to conduct short-form assessment. Parties to refrain from public commentary identifying the child. Administrative review in 21 days or on motion. Any future allegation to be stated as conduct, not adjectives. He sat. It took 9 minutes to get there. Does mother have a position? Judge Patel asked. Claire stood, sunglasses perched on her head like a halo that had seen things. This is my child, she said. She was taken. I'm being punished because a friend made me look bad on the internet. I want my daughter home today. She lifted a boutique bag like evidence. I brought her a hoodie. The judge looked over his glasses the way seasoned teachers do. Ma'am, I'll ask you yes-no questions, he said. Are you currently in a position to resume overnight care today? Claire opened her mouth, then closed it. I can, she said. But, yes or no, he said, still kind. No, she said, quieter. Have you participated in 2 supervised visits since discharge? Yes, she said. 10 minutes is nothing. Did staff note any safety concerns with the child in the current placement? No, she said, smaller. He nodded once. Any third-party concerns present today? The county attorney glanced at Ms. Hayes. No, Your Honor. Agency notes stability in the current placement. Judge Patel turned to the guardian ad litem. Counsel? The gal stood. I met with the child this morning. She is oriented, regulated, and uses clear words. She expressed comfort in the current sleeping environment and smiled when describing reading a truck book with the caregiver. She also stated she wants to see her mother soon, but not loud. I support the short-term plan as proposed and recommend a communication order that channels contact in writing. Every verb in that summary sat like furniture. Judge Patel cleared his throat. I'll speak with the child briefly. He nodded to the bailiff, and Julia went with the gal to a small side room with 2 chairs and a bowl of peppermints. I watched the door close and reminded my lungs how to do their job. 2 in, 2 out, 4 in, 6 out. I pressed my palm and felt, in memory, 2 gentle presses back. When they returned, the judge didn't narrate what Julia had said. He simply set the law where it belonged. The record reflects no current safety concern in the placement where the child is regulated, he said. The court adopts temporary placement with the caregiver for the 30 days. Supervised contact 3 times weekly at the Family Resource Center. Communications in writing. No doorstep exchanges, and no public commentary that could identify the child. The agency will complete a short-form assessment and circulate it in writing. An administrative review is set in 21 days. Either party may advance for good cause. Any further concerns shall be documented as conduct, dates, times, observable behavior, not adjectives. He looked at me, not unkind, but like a carpenter checking a level. Ma'am, will you continue the routines that keep the child regulated? Yes, Your Honor. Yes, plus 1 sentence. Hug, wash, snack, tour, play. He almost smiled. And will you maintain communications in writing and avoid doorstep contact? Yes. He turned to Claire. Ma'am, will you comply with the supervised visitation schedule and conduct communications in writing? Claire stared at the table, then at me, then at the ceiling. Yes, she said. The words sounded like a coin laid down. Good, he said. Counsel for the agency will circulate the written order by close of business. Anything further? Nothing, Your Honor, Marcus said. The county attorney echoed him. Ms. Hayes added, Thank you, and meant it like oxygen. It was 12 minutes, 31 seconds, per the clock on the wall. We stood. The bailiff's door clicked. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt responsible. In the hallway, Marcus handed me a copy of the minute order and spoke his blessing for days like this. Facts, terms, next. I sat on a bench that had held 1,000 mothers and opened my phone. I wrote the 3-paragraph email before adrenaline could turn me into a poet. Subject: Proof. 30-day temporary placement order. Summary: Facts. Court ordered 30-day temporary placement with current caregiver. Supervised contact. 3x weekly. Family Resource Center. Comms in writing. No doorstep. No public commentary identifying child. Agency to complete short-form assessment. Admin review in 21 days. Concerns? To be stated as conduct. Dates. Times. Observations. Terms. I will continue home routines. Visual schedule. Calm corner. Lap pad available. Weighted blanket folded at feet for waking regulation only. All comms in writing. Receipt requests for submissions. Public staffed settings only. Next. Await written order. Reply received. Coordinate visit times with CPS. Send school a no action FYI. Attach minute order to tab 1. Update timeline. I CC'd Ms. Hayes, Marcus, and myself. Then I sent the school FYI that never scares teachers. Subject: FYI court order. No action requested. Child will remain at our address 30 days. Routines unchanged. Please keep notes in writing. No action requested. Thank you. Both replies came back received before the elevator dinged. We walked down the courthouse steps into sunlight that felt unearned and absolutely necessary. Julia held the applesauce in my hand. Home? She asked. Home, I said. Working on it, together. At a stoplight, my phone buzzed with a post that shouldn't have made it past anyone's better angels. A vague book status about people who steal children in weaponized systems, liked by 36 acquaintances who prefer drama to documents. I didn't screenshot it. I didn't write a paragraph into notes. I took a breath, pressed my palm twice against the wheel, and set a timer for 10 minutes because that's how long it takes me to write a clean summary instead of a scream. Back at the house, I slid the minute order into tab 1 and added a line to the timeline. When, where, who, what, verbatim. I studiati mesuring Jabi, Judge Patel. 30-day temporary placement, supervised contact, in writing, no doorstep, no public commentary. Then I built the comment containment plan, because the internet loves a bonfire and I prefer stovetops. Comment containment, copy-paste, do not post about minors' cases. Mute, do not screenshot. Route any escalations to CPS with a fax. Terms. Next email. Doorline. Online. I don't discuss minors' health online. We keep this in writing with the right folks. I set quiet hours, 24, for everyone except mom, school, CPS. Then I washed one mug and moved the blue octopus to the couch because we were going to read 3 pages before dinner the way normal families do. If you're listening with your own binder on your kitchen table, here's the pocket kit that made 12 minutes survivable. Pocket hearing kit, short, top 3 exhibits, timeline, hospital, ER PEDS, CPS safety plan, plus visit notes. Answer mode, yes, no, plus 1 sentence. Ask, please email the written order, I'll reply received. Recipe order, ask the court for this. 30-day temporary placement where regulated. Supervised contact, 3x weekly, staffed. Comms in writing, no doorstep. No public commentary identifying child. Short form assessment. Admin review, 21 days. Concerns as conduct, not adjectives. That night, after Julia fell asleep with the weighted blanket folded at her feet, waking regulation only, always, and the porch light ticked to dusk, my phone buzzed again. The feed had learned a new word. Kidnapper. A stranger's comment tag crawled under my skin. I didn't argue. I filed. And in the morning, when the internet got loud, we would keep Tuesday anyway. The court spoke in rows. The internet spoke in rumors. My job for the next 10 days was making sure one didn't eat the other. By the time we turned the porch light to dusk after the hearing, my phone was already learning a new word. Kidnapper. It arrived the way trouble often does, through people who haven't folded your laundry in years but still feel entitled to your living room. A vague status. Some folks steal kids and weaponize systems. Gathered likes like lint. A cousin DM'd, explain? With 4 question marks, as if punctuation could serve a warrant. I wanted to argue. I chose architecture instead. I opened settings and put the internet on the other side of a door. Turned off tagging without approval. Set focus to allow calls only from mom, school, CPS, Marcus. Muted the 3 loudest groups that confuse proximity with access. Added a single pinned sentence at the top of every profile. Pinned. I don't discuss minors or health online. We keep this in writing with the right folks. It wasn't sass. It was a fence. The algorithm hates fences. It prefers bonfires. Within hours, a friend of a friend posted a thread so confident it read like a sermon. My palms went hot. I typed a paragraph in notes that could have won awards for righteous clarity. Then I remembered the card I'd taped to the fridge. Comment containment. Comment containment, default. Do not post about minors' cases. Mute. Do not screenshot. Route escalations to CPS attorney with fax. Terms. Next. Doorline. Online. I don't discuss minors or health online. We keep this in writing with the right folks. Silence looks like surrender to people who confuse volume with truth. But we weren't doing theater. We were doing paper. So I made a different kind of post. The kind meant for neighbors, not spectators. Subject. Email to the small circle. FYI. We're okay. What to expect online. No action requested. Body. Court set a 30-day temporary placement with supervised visits and all communications in writing. You may see posts that are not our story. We won't be responding online. If you're worried, text, checking in, and we'll send a one-liner. Thank you for keeping this in writing. People who love you do better when given a job. Within minutes, Ms. Nora slid a plate of muffins across our threshold without a question attached. My sister texted, checking in, and accepted my received, no saga. The quiet became livable. The only person I owed a notification to besides the court and CPS was school. I sent a no drama, no action note. Subject, FYI, online noise, no action requested. We're keeping all case-related talk off platforms. Please route any concerns to me in writing. Thank you for staying eyes on Julia and Emma's day, not the feed. The principal replied, received with a thumbs up. I put the email under this helped because bureaucracies move faster when they know exactly what not to do. Meanwhile, the DMs kept doing what DMs do when people think a private message is a moral loophole. I wrote 3 auto replies and kept my thumbs out of harm's way. It's for curious acquaintances. Thanks for checking in. We keep anything about minors' health in writing with the right folks. We're okay. 2. For relatives with megaphones. We're resting the house. If you need logistics, email purpose +2 noon options. No doorstep. It's for strangers or hostile DMs. Please direct any concerns to CPS email or attorney email. I won't be discussing this by message. I set my brain to 8 and 6. I answered nothing in between. Algorithms cannot pick fights with quiet. On day 3, a post crossed my line. Not because it was mean, but because it named the school. That moved us from gossip to safety. I broke my own don't screenshot rule, but not for the car crash, only for the record. I used the digital proof chain Marcus had taught me. 1. Save the URL and timestamp. 2. Capture one screenshot. No commentary. 3. Do not share it socially. Email to counsel CPS with facts, terms. Next. 5. Ask received and close the loop. Subject. Proof. Post naming school. Please archive. X attached screenshot plus link. Post name school. 14 comments at time of capture. Terms. We will not engage publicly. We will keep communications in writing. Next. Please archive. Advise if you want me to notify school further. Please reply received. Ms. Hayes replied received and took it from there. The post vanished 2 hours later, not because I argued well on the internet, but because adults with policies moved a finger. I filed both emails behind tab 7, online and media, and went back to boiling pasta. Receipts, not applause. The group chat, you know the one, lit up next. A woman I hadn't seen since kindergarten pickup typed, "If she were a good friend, she'd give the child back." I read the sentence and felt my ribcage become a library shelf again. I pasted the exit line I had practiced. I care about this child, and I'm following a court order. I won't discuss minors' health here. I'm leaving this chat to keep it boring on purpose. Then I left. I didn't peek later to see the reactions. Gossips don't leave room for silence because silence makes them hear themselves. Emma saw a sliver of the feed by accident. Someone's mom in the car line with a mouth faster than her brain. That night, I folded the blue hoodie at the end of my bed and told her the only truth a kid needs about adults behaving like 5th graders online. We can't control other people's stories, I said. We can keep our schedule. We read 3 pages and threw the imaginary orange ball 6 times because repetition keeps promises when people don't. Claire posted a paragraph about paperwork people who thrive on drama. The irony almost made me laugh. I did what paperwork people do. Paperwork. I added a row to the timeline. When, where, who, what, verbatim. 6:42 p.m. Social, public, Claire. People who thrive on drama and paperwork. Keep my kid out of your games. No response. Routed to CPS. I didn't collect clapbacks. I collected rows. It isn't noble, it's sustainable. Because this is YouTube and some of you need copy-paste more than catharsis, here's the kit that kept me from dueling in comments. The feed war kit, use, don't admire. As a pinned sentence, put on every profile. I don't discuss minors' health online. We keep this in writing with the right folks. DM auto replies. Save as text shortcuts. Curious. Thanks for checking in. We keep this in writing. We're okay. Relative. We're resting the house. Email purpose +2 noon options. Hostile. Please direct concerns to CPS or attorney. I won't discuss this by message. It's digital proof chain, only when safety policy is involved. Link, 1 screenshot, Email fax. Terms. Next. Ask received. File under online and media. For your group chat exit line. I'm following a court order. I won't discuss minors' health here. Leaving to keep it boring on purpose. 5. School community FYI. No action requested. Online noise may appear. We won't engage publicly. Please root concerns in writing. 6. Self-limits. Replies only at 8 and 6. Mute instead of fight. Quiet hours. 24 after any spike. No screenshots unless counsel asks. If you felt a little calmer just reading that list, your nervous system likes maps. For all the internet thunder, the thing that actually needed my attention wore a human face and had office hours. Marcus looped me into a short call. Small heads up. There's talk of a burner number sending harassing texts to third parties. If any reach you, default to root plus log. Don't block before we capture headers. I wrote a new card and slid it behind tab 7. Unknown number protocol. Copy-paste. 1. Do not engage. Reply once with, please send purpose to attorney email. 3. Screenshot headers, if requested. Forward to counsel immediately. Art log on timeline. Time, number, content. 5. Block after counsel confirms received. That afternoon, an unknown number tested the system with a message that read like a dare. I didn't feed it. I routed it. Please send purpose to attorney email. Then I logged, forwarded, and waited for received. When it came, I blocked and went back to the pot on the stove. The burner became a character in our story over the next 24 hours, but that belongs to the next part. What mattered in this one was the muscle we built, the ability to stop performing our lives for spectators. There were bright spots. A neighbor slid a note under my door. We saw the post. We believe you because we've seen you. Need milk? We didn't. I kept the note under a yellow clip. This helped, because kindness deserves an archive too. The librarian quietly kept our ICL. I seat at storytime, and pretended it had always been ours. The usher at church saved the back row, and handed me an index card with our rules written in his tidy script. No doorstep, no debrief, public only. The world can be a witness in the right direction. Witness in the At night when the house was soft and the feed was loud in a corner I refused to visit, I made a tiny spreadsheet called 3 People Who Get My Words. Mom, Marcus, Ms. Hayes. Everyone else got my sentences. Sentences are gifts you can afford to give. People assume anger is more powerful than admin. I used to assume that too. But every time I chose a script over a speech, the room calmed a degree. I slept a little. Julia laughed at a truck joke that wasn't funny, which is the profound miracle of being 10 and safe enough to find something dumb hilarious. Because this is a channel for mothers who are also clerks when they need to be, here's a micro exercise to anchor your next scroll. Write your pinned sentence in the comments, or write received if you can't trust your fingers yet. If you're tempted to reply to a post tonight, set a 10-minute timer first. At the beep, send a fax terms. Next email to the person who can actually move a lever. Then walk away from the app like it's a hot stove. By the end of the week, the algorithm grew bored the way toddlers do when you stop reacting. The posts didn't disappear, but they lost their shine. We ate pasta. We read 3 pages. We threw the orange ball 6 times. I set the porch light to dusk and let boredom be the headline. Silence starved the algorithm, but one number wouldn't starve. It texted at odd hours, spoke in you people sentences, and knew details only a small circle could know. It wasn't a comment thread. It was a device. The first message from the unknown number read like a dare. Give her back. We all see you. It arrived at 6:12 a.m., the hour when mothers are making sandwiches, not enemies. I didn't reply. I used the card I had written the day before. Unknown number protocol. 1. Do not engage. Oh, reply once. Please send purpose to attorney email. 3. Screenshot headers. If counsel asks, forward to attorney CPS. Log on timeline. Time, number, content. 5. Block after counsel confirms received. I answered once, forwarded to Marcus and Ms. Hayes, and waited for received. Then I added a row to the timeline. 6:12 a.m. Unknown number. Give her back. We all see you. Routed to council. No reply. If it had stopped there, it would have been noise. Instead, it learned. Messages came with specifics. Names of places we hadn't posted. Times of visits not shared. Phrases that only someone in the room would parrot. Room A1 isn't safety. It's a cage. 10 minutes with a clipboard isn't motherhood. Courts love clerks with binders. How proud you must be. I wanted to swing at the air. I chose a schedule. I moved my reply windows to 8 and 6 and told my body that nothing from that number would steal noon or night. Each time it pinged, I added a line to the grid and a breath to my lungs. 4 in, 6 out. I pressed Julia's palm twice at breakfast so the day would begin with a conversation that used no adjectives. A week into the court order, the texts escalated to threat adjacent, words that dance near a line without stepping over it. You'll be sorry when this is over. People like you get what's coming. They hit at 11:07 p.m. and 4:41 a.m., which is when an adult's nervous system is most likely to barter with shadows. I didn't barter. I routed. Subject. Proof. Unknown number escalation. Preservation request. Facts. Attached screenshots with timestamps. Content escalating. You'll be sorry. Terms. I won't engage. Will log and route. Next. Please send preservation request to the carrier. Advise if police report is prudent at this stage. Please reply received. Marcus wrote received in 1 minute and preservation letter sent. Keep logging. Don't block until we pull headers. Ms. Hayes added, if contact continues, file a brief police report. Harassment. So agency can piggyback. Bring timeline. I didn't want to file a report. I wanted to bake muffins until adrenaline gave up. But rooms move on paper, not pastry. So I packed the binder and walked into the precinct with Officer Martinez's card in my pocket. The desk sergeant took the report gently, like a person handling a fragile dish. He made a copy of the timeline page, circled 3 entries, and said, if another message arrives, don't reply. Forward to your attorney and to me. He wrote his email on the back of a business card. I added it to tab 7. Online and media, with a yellow clip. This helped. That night, the number got sloppy. It referenced a detail from the first supervised visit that only 4 adults had heard. It also used a phrase that belonged to Claire, something she says when she's tired. I literally can't with you. My stomach did the math I didn't want it to do. I didn't write it down as Claire. I wrote it as pattern. Timeline row, at 22 p.m. Unknown number. I literally can't with you. Phrase associated with mother's usage, routed to counsel. Marcus replied the next morning with a sentence that moved us from hunch to process. We'll request CCTV from the convenience store near her apartment. There was a cash purchase flagged on the bank subpoena the same night the number activated. I am not a detective. I am a mother with spreadsheets. But even I understood the shape of what he was saying. Burner. We didn't chase it. We waited while adults who can ask for things with letterhead asked for things. My job was to keep the house boring on purpose, to read 3 pages, throw the ball 6 times, set the porch light to dusk, and answer the feed with muting. The unknown number, offended by our lack of performance, texted, "Are you scared yet?" at 2:03 p.m. while I was cutting crusts off sandwiches. I forwarded and stirred soup. 2 days later, Marcus called. He rarely called. We have footage, he said. I sat down because that's what my body does when nouns arrive. Corner store. Timestamp 8:41 p.m., day before the first text. Video shows a woman purchasing a prepaid phone with cash and loading it with a card we can match to the bank record. Her appearance matches recent public photos. The agency has the file. We'll keep this boring and in writing. I didn't cry. I didn't gloat. I wrote a row. When, where, who, what, verbatim. At p.m., a light 1. Convenience store, CCTV. Unknown female purchase. Prepaid phone. Cash. Load card. Timestamp aligns with first contact. Per counsel, agency. Ms. Hayes sent a brief, steady email to confirm agency steps. Subject: agency harassment evidence. Next steps. Facts: carrier preservation. CCTV obtained via police request. Timestamps align. Language patterns match mother's public communications. Terms: agency will request no contact terms as part of a modified order. Communications to remain in writing via counsel. Supervised visits unchanged. Next. Attend brief hearing Friday 10. Bring timeline. No statements to media. Please reply received. I replied received and taped a fresh card on the fridge. Friday hearing. Tense years keepable. Top exhibits. Timeline page. Unknown number entries. Officer report. Carrier preservation letter. CCTV still. Labeled. Ask. Add no contact condition. Limit communications to counsel. Confirm that online posts naming child's communities violate no public commentary order. At the courthouse, 12 turned into 8. No speeches. Marcus handed the judge 4 pages and asked for 5 sentences. The county attorney said, agreed, before Claire's lawyer could stand. Judge Patel added a line to the existing order like a carpenter adding a brace. No direct or indirect contact outside agency, your counsel. Harassing communications prohibited. Violations subject to sanction. On the steps afterward, Marcus didn't give me a victory lap. He gave me a boundary. If contact resumes, send me facts. Terms. Next. Do not read intent. Read timestamps. I could live inside that sentence for a month. The text stopped. The burner number went silent the way a room does when the adult enters. The feed kept twitching, but it felt like a tail after the body had learned stillness. I moved tab 7 to the back of the binder like furniture. Here's the part people don't write books about. What it took from me to keep our house kind in the middle of being right. Anger wanted to be the main character. I gave it a desk job. I wrote a no-contact hygiene card and taped it inside the pantry next to the cinnamon, because small domestic objects can hold big policies. No-contact hygiene. Copy-paste. Do not savor the footage. File it. Do not tell the internet. Tell the order. Do keep your reply windows. Silence is structure, not surrender. Do log any new contact as when, where, who, what. Verbatim. No adjectives. Do not weaponize the child's knowledge. Keep their world tiny and soft. The day after the hearing, the librarian saved our aisle seat without asking. The usher at church kept the back row and looked at me with the sort of kindness that has rules. Ms. Nora knocked and handed us a casserole labeled Return Dish Same Day, because even generosity can have terms that help it last. This is what people mean when they talk about chosen family. Not speeches. Systems. At work, Ms. Lopez glanced at my Monday map and said, "You look like a thermostat." I laughed. "Structure sets the temp," I said. It was true at the office and in our living room. My 8 and 6 windows at work kept me from letting the burner crawl into my calendar. My noon was still for decisions, not reactions. I delivered the deck on time, ended a status email with please reply, received, and went home to read 3 pages about trucks. You might wonder if Claire apologized when the burner became a noun in a file. She didn't. She posted a picture of a beach at golden hour and wrote an epigraph about forgiveness. I didn't screenshot. I stirred soup. When Julia asked, "Mom, soon?" I said, "Yes, tomorrow at 10. Room A1. We'll bring the truck book." We did. The visit was gentle. People are often gentlest when rooms get firm. If you need the copy-paste from this chapter because your life has a number that won't be quiet, here it is without the story. Burner and harassment toolkit. Use immediately. As unknown number protocol. Don't engage. 1 reply only. Please send purpose to attorney email. Forward to counsel agency. Ask for preservation. Log. When, where, who, what. Block after counsel confirms received. Preservation and proof. Counsel agency side. Carrier preservation letter. Police report. Harassment. With timeline attached. CCTV receipts when there's a nearby purchase. Prepaid. Keep all artifacts out of social media. Yes, hearing ask. Short form. Add no contact condition. Direct, indirect. Outside agency counsel. Reaffirm no public commentary identifying the child, school, church. Communications in writing only. Violations. Sanction. Cites, dice. 4. Self-care boundaries that hold. Reply at 8 and 6 only. Noon reserved for decisions, not reactions. Quiet hours, 24 after any spike. Facts, terms, next, instead of paragraphs. If you try one thing tonight, make it the unknown number protocol. Save it as a text shortcut. You will feel your shoulders learn the shape of predictable. The burner wasn't the plot twist. It was the proof that structure works even when people don't. The real twist came the following week, when a name I hadn't said aloud in a decade showed up in Ms. Hayes's memo. Mark. The man the story had erased. The father. The email subject was 5 words that rearranged our month. Contact located. Father Mark. Not a twist. A door. I read Ms. Hayes's line twice because my brain had only been braced for storms. Burners, posts, doorbells. This wasn't a storm. It was a person with a name the story had edited out. Subject. Agency contact located. Father Mark. Body. Paternity previously established. Payment history indicates regular support. Prior attempts at contact documented. No open safety flags. Proposing introductory supervised visit. Room A1. Please reply received. I sat at the kitchen table and felt 2 truths argue inside my chest. Truth 1. I was the adult who had stayed and kept the schedule when the room went loud. Truth 2. Children deserve more than one adult who can say yes. I typed the only word that let both truths breathe. Received. That night I told Emma the headline without turning it into a referendum. Julia's dad, Mark, wrote to the agency. He wants to meet her with the staff there. Emma, who is better at fairness than most committees, nodded like a judge and asked the right question. Will it be quiet? Yes, I said. Kendra will hold the clock. Mark emailed Ms. Hayes in a style that sounded like someone who had practiced being careful. Subject. Request. Supervised introduction. Julia. Fax biological father. Support paid via state portal. Records attached. Prior contact attempts in years via certified mail. Receipts attached. Terms. Request supervised introduction at Family Resource Center. Room A1. Communications in writing. Next. Available 2 at 10. Will follow child's regulation plan if provided. Please reply received. He attached receipts, not speeches, scans of payments and 2 return receipt slips with green card signatures. This wasn't heroics. It was rouse. I printed his email and slid it behind a fresh tab. Tab 8. Dad. I added him to my VIP list, email only, and wrote a card for my fridge because new doors need scripts. Re-entry parent. Copy-paste. Status. Child regulated in current placement. Temporary order in place. Plan. Introduction supervised. Staff-led pacing. Visual schedule shared in advance. Boundary. In writing. Public rooms. No doorstep. No social. Tuesday 9:55 a.m. Room A1. Kendra wiped the table with the same care she uses for every family. No more, no less. We'll keep this 10 minutes, she said. I'll narrate transitions. Follow the child, not the clock. I loved her for turning kindness into a checklist. When Mark walked in, the room exhaled in a way that surprised me. He was early 30s, tired, clean shirt, hands visible, voice low. He didn't reach. He asked. May I sit here? He said to Kendra, then to Julia. He looked at the visual schedule I'd brought like it was a map to a country he intended to respect. Hi, Julia, he said, and his tone did something my body recognized. It left room. I'm Mark. I'm your dad. I'm glad to see you today. Not finally. Not after all this time. Just today. Kendra cued the routine. Hug is optional. Hands wash is next. We'll read 3 pages if it feels good. Julia stared at his shoes, then at the blue octopus peeking from my tote, then at Kendra's timer. Book, she said. Not a test. A condition. He nodded, eyes soft. Book? He said back, like a promise. He didn't bring a bag, a speech, or a camera. He brought a pocket notebook. When Julia whispered heavy, he looked at me, and I laid the lap pad over her legs. He wrote a small note, heavy, lap pad, like a student in a class that mattered. Julia kept a fidget ring between her fingers and sat near, not on. The distance was a respect, not a failure. Kendra's pen moved like rain. Asked consent before sitting adjacent. Followed child's preference for book. Matched volume, avoided leading questions. 10 minutes do not redeem a decade. They do not fracture it further. They are a sample size the nervous system can chew. When Kendra said, "We're done for today," he didn't bargain. He asked the sentence that cut through 1,000 internet paragraphs. "What helps next time?" Kendra nodded at me. I handed him the regulation snapshot I'd printed at 7 a.m. Julia, regulation snapshot, 1 page. Mini schedule, hug, wash, snack, 3 pages, wave. Signals, I need heavy, quiet, a break. Do, match volume, narrate now, ask yes, no, bring truck book. Don't, promise later, ask why, touch first. He read it like you read an instruction manual you want to get right the first time. Received, he said, my language on someone else's tongue, and something small unclenched in my chest. Back at the kitchen table, I wrote the 3-paragraph summary because every good feeling still deserves a paper twin. Subject. Proof. Intro visit. Father Mark. Summary. Facts. 10 a.m. Room A1. Father present. No incidents. Child regulated. Followed staff prompts. Introduced self. Read 3 pages. Asked what helps next time. Terms. Future contact supervised. Schedule in writing. No doorstep. No social. Next. Proposed 2:10. Attach regulation snapshot. Request father confirm received. Ms. Hayes replied received with Kendra's observation attached. Mark replied received and added 1 line. Thank you for the snapshot. I'll bring the truck book next time if allowed. Allowed. Consent in a sentence fragment. I filed the email under this helped. The second visit showed me what a ladder looks like when somebody brings tools. He arrived at 9:58. He held the truck book with 2 fingers like a delicate artifact. He asked Kendra, "Is 10 minutes still the room?" And asked Julia, "Would you like me to read, or would you like to turn the pages while I do?" She chose pages. He slowed down. He matched her breathing without making it a show. When the timer chimed, he closed the book with a soft thump that sounded like respect. Kendra's notes stayed boring. Co-regulation present. Father followed child's lead, maintained boundaries, no safety concerns observed. I tucked the note behind tab 8 and added a row to the timeline. When, where, who, what, verbatim, through 10, Sierra 10 to 10, Family Resource Center, A1, Mark, father. Brought truck book, asked what helps, matched volume, no incidents, child regulated. That afternoon, Marcus sent a heads up. Agency will move to amend the temporary order to reflect father contact. Nothing changes about placement or supervised terms. Expect a short calendar. Bring rouse. My body, now trained for this, reached for a highlighter. I thought about Claire, about how stories shrink people to make room for blame. I sat with my anger and handed it a pencil. It took notes. That's its job now. I made a small list, not of grievances, but of keeps. Keep Julia's schedule more important than any adult's redemption arc. Keep yes, no, please, 1 sentence in rooms with microphones. Keep the door line even when the world wants confetti. Keep Mark on the paper path. Supervised, in writing, predictable. At the amendment hearing, it took 6 minutes. Ms. Hayes summarized the 2 visits. The gal said, "Child regulated. Father respected boundaries. Recommend continuing supervised introductions." Marcus added the sentence a court can lift whole into an order. We ask the court to recognize father's contact as supervised and to direct all scheduling and writing through the agency. Judge Patel nodded. So ordered. Claire's attorney protested lightly. Mother remains the primary parent. The judge didn't look up. Placement is not before the court today, he said. We are describing conduct and directing process. I wrote the line on a sticky because I wanted on a mug. Describe conduct. Direct process. After the hearing, Mark didn't linger. He emailed thank you to Kendra for holding a room that a child can trust and CC'd the agency. He asked if bringing a small car for Julia to roll during reading would be allowed next time. Kendra said yes, with a note about volume and sharing expectations. He replied, received. It wasn't sentimental. It was repeatable. That evening, Emma asked if people can change. Yes, I said carefully. And also, we keep procedures so kids don't have to find out the hard way. We read our 3 pages. We threw the ball 6 times. We picked up 2 cars at the store, one for A1, one for home, because sharing is easier when it's planned. If you're here because a parent the story erased has knocked, here is the small kit that made our yes safe. Re-entry parent kit. Copy-paste. Us agency email to propose safe start. Subject. Request. Revised introduction. 9. Facts. Relationship. Any existing support records. Prior attempts. Attach receipts. Terms. Request supervised visit at center. Room Dalmard. 10 minutes. Communications in writing. Next. Provide 2-time options. Ask for regulation snapshot. Reply received. Get regulation snapshot. 1 page you hand them. Mini schedule. Hug. Wash. Snack. 3 pages. Wave. Signals. I need quiet. Heavy. A break. Do don't. Match volume. Ask consent. No promises about later. Objects. Truck book. Lap pad. Fidget ring. Observation phrases for staff. So reports travel. Asked consent before sitting adjacent. Matched volume and pace. Followed child's lead. No safety concerns observed. 4 saw. 4. Court ask. Short form. Recognize supervised contact for father. All scheduling through agency, in writing. Reaffirm placement order terms untouched. 5. Your boundary trio. In writing. Public rooms. No doorstep. Mark didn't fix our story. He broadened it. He became another adult who could read the mini-schedule without making it about himself. He wrote receipts, not feelings. He let the room stay about the child. That's what a ladder feels like when it's set at the right angle. You can climb without looking down. On the 3rd visit, Julia put the truck in his hand and said, "Push." He did, slow, like a person learning a new alphabet. Kendra wrote, engaged, reciprocal, regulated. I filed the note and realized something steadier than forgiveness had entered the room. Competence. That night I updated the table of contents and moved tab 8, Dad above online and media. Priorities should look like they feel. I also wrote a tiny addendum to my middle promise and taped it beside the porch light switch. Middle promise, expanded, gentle in tone, firm in terms, boring on purpose. When a new adult enters, teach them the schedule, not your scars. The porch light clicked to dusk. Emma brushed her teeth and asked if the next A1 could be the same day every week, so it would be easier to remember. That's the plan, I said. Predictability is a kind of love we can measure. Soft CTA for engagement. If you've navigated a re-entry parent, what one line helped your child trust the room, either said by you, staff, or the parent? Drop it below. If you don't have the words yet, type received and borrow hours until yours arrive. Stories break on the internet. Courts run on paper. The month after Judge Patel's order, I stopped trying to be persuasive and started trying to be findable, in 30 seconds, by a clerk who didn't know my face. I built the paper trail at the kitchen table, where the light is kind and the coffee remembers my name. The binder sat to my left like a seatbelt. I wasn't chasing perfection. I was chasing retrievability. Panic forgets nouns. Paper remembers. The first thing I fixed wasn't a document. It was a rhythm. Every weekday at noon, I gave myself a 20-minute Monday map. Yes, even on Tuesday, and on Fridays a 3-line Friday rap. The rest of the week, I ran 10-10-10 like a tiny metronome. Paper, 10. Update the timeline, file one thing, send one email that ends with please reply, received. House, 10. Reset the sink, clear one surface, porch light, dusk. Play, 10. 3 pages, 6 throws, 1 yes, I didn't have to earn. I taped that to the pantry door because procedures are easier to keep when the pasta can hear them. The timeline, spine of the binder. The timeline lived in tab 1, a 4-column grid that turned chaos into rows. When, where, who, what, verbatim. No adjectives, only verbs and quotes. If something belonged to feeling, it stayed in my journal. If it belonged to rooms with clocks, it went in a row. I logged supervised visits, start, stop, room A1, school notes, lap pad after PE, Ms. Hayes's calls, unknown numbers, even soup deliveries labeled return dish same day, because kindness is relevant when rooms are deciding where a child regulates. Every Friday I printed the timeline to date and clipped it with yellow. This helped, or red, needs follow-up. I learned that clerks love grids more than genius. Names that survive 4:58 p.m. I stopped naming files like a person and started naming them like a system. YSMD type subject VB. Examples. Isumisir order. Temporary placement. Vi1. PDF. Barsium note. Supervised. Visit A1. Kendra V1. SCPC email school FYI V1 PDF. Issuing report. CCTV police addendum V1. The rule did 2 miracles. First, sort order, story order. Second, future me at 2 a.m. could find the thing without asking past me to explain herself. The 3-paragraph spine, every serious email. I wrote every important email to counsel, CPS, school, or the court clerk in the same shape. Get facts, time, place, what happened, verbs, quotes. Terms, in writing, public rooms, no doorstep, releases, consents, reply windows. 8 and 6. Next. What I'm sending and when, what I'm asking for, please reply, received. It looked like this. Subject. Proof. Supervised visit. Day 9. Summary. Facts. 10, he 10, 10. Room A1, child regulated, father Mark present, read 3 pages, matched volume, no incidents. Terms. Placement here per order, comms in writing, no doorstep, public staffed settings only. Next. Proposed to 10. Attach Kendra's observation, request received. I felt silly at first asking grown professionals to reply received. Then I learned received closes loops better than thanks. Exhibits that carry rooms. By week 2, I could pack a 1-page packet for any room in under 5 minutes. Exhibit A, timeline, last 7 days only. Exhibit B, hospital, ER plus PEDS discharge, weighted blanket folded at feet for waking regulation only. Exhibit C, school, IEP excerpt, visual schedule, breaks 5-2, lap pad after PE, no action requested. Exhibit D, specialist, plain words, appropriate and safe. I put that sheet on top of the binder because judges read top pages and auditors love labels. Digital proof without theater. The internet tried to drag me onto a stage. I refused, and still made proof when it mattered. Digital proof chain. Only when policy safety is involved. 1. Copy URL and timestamp. 2. Take 1 screenshot. No captions. It's email to counsel, agency with facts. Terms. Next. 4. Ask for received. 5. File under tab 7. Online and media. No dunking, no doom scrolling, no DMs. Policy, not performance. The table of contents, so strangers can drive. At the front of the binder, I kept a 1-page talk with tab names and 1 sentence under each. It read like this. Estimate timeline, tab 1. 4-column grid. When, where, who, what verbatim. Orders, tab 2. Minute orders, plus short form order, last order on top. It's medical, tab 3. ER plus PEDS plus social work. Supports, accommodations. JAR 4. School, tab 4. IEP excerpts, regulation plan, visual schedule, breaks 5-2, lap pad. 5. Specialist, tab 5. Plain language letter, appropriate and safe. Safety plan and visits, tab 6. 72-hour plan, Kendra's notes, A1 schedule. 7. Online and media, tab 7. Preservation emails, police addendum, no contact terms. Ishtita 8. Dad, tab 8. Mark's receipts, snapshots, supervised contact emails, and scripts, pocket, door line, school FYI, work Monday, map Friday wrap. If I got hit by a bus, a decent human could pick up that binder and walk my life into a room without embarrassing me. Redundancy is kindness. I kept 2 copies of everything important. One in the binder, one on a thumb drive labeled exhibits. I emailed PDFs to myself with the subject, proof, because email is the laziest off-site backup, and laziness is good when it's reliable. Receipts over rage, even at work. I brought the same spine to my job so the crisis didn't eat my paycheck. Monday map lived on 1 sheet. Green, yellow, red, done next ask on Friday. Approvals weren't looks good. They were approved to ship VEs. I pasted that line into tickets like a farmer planting the only crop that feeds winter. Receipts. When coworkers wanted a debrief, I handed them deliverables. When my manager, Ms. Lopez, asked what I needed, I said verbs. Hold asynchronous unless blocked, protect noon, root purpose plus 2 time options. She said deal and meant it. Whisper tools that quiet a house. I learned a handful of micro documents that turned afternoons from yelling into yes. Safety plan card, on the fridge. Placement here, A1 visits, in writing, no doorstep. Quiet hours, 24, after escalations. Regulation snapshot, 1 page for any adult. Mini schedule, kid scripts, do, don't, objects, truck book, lap pad, fidget ring. Door line, on the entry. We're resting the house. Please email purpose plus 2 noon options. Unknown number protocol, pinned by Wi-Fi. 1 reply to council, log, preserve, block after received. Tiny papers saved big days. Maintenance, boring on purpose. Here's how a boring week looked on paper. Monday 12th, print last 7-day timeline. Update talk, email school FYI, no action requested. Tuesday 8, scan Kendra's note, save as YYMemDD note, A1V1 PDF, forward to agency received. Wednesday 12th, file 1 medical note, highlight appropriate and safe, ask clinic for receipt received. Thursday 10th talk, supervised visit, 3 paragraph summary, log rows. Friday 6th back, Friday wrap, done next ask, to Ms. Lopez. Porch light set to dusk. Binder back to the shelf like furniture. No fireworks, just kept Tuesdays. Teaching helpers to speak rows. I stopped hoping people would get it and started handing them sentences. Neighbor. We don't debrief. If you want to help, soup, study, shift, room, or paper. Church usher. Back row, aisle, no introductions. Please keep notes in writing. Librarian. Aisle seat, 3 pages. Will wave, not hug. Family. No phone, email purpose plus 2 noon options, no doorstep. We collected yeses we could actually keep. When feelings wanted the steering wheel, some afternoons I wanted to post a sermon titled, Here's What Really Happened. Instead, I opened notes and wrote, Peter Sakikalin. Facts, terms, next. Facts, what happened in nouns. Terms, in writing, public, no doorstep, reply windows. Next, ask the person with a lever to pull it. Attach a file, request received. Then I sent the email and fed my body a glass of water like I was a plant who forgot she was a plant. The 2 piles that matter. By the end of each week, I could sort our life into 2 piles. Pile A, rooms, court, school, clinic, agency, work. They eat rows. Pile B, feeds, comments, DMs, drive-by opinions. They eat reactions. I fed A with paper and starved B with silence. That was not sainthood. It was sanity. The checklist I used before any room. The night before the review hearing, I used this 8-line checklist like a lullaby. Asti Corindon. Top 1-page packet. A timeline, B hospital, C school, D specialist. 2. Latest minute order on top. Proposed order, short form, clipped behind. Print Kendra notes. Last 2 visits. 4. No contact addendum from last hearing stapled. 5. Email 3 paragraph summary to council.cps. Ask for received. 6. Pack applesauce, 2 pens, and the blue octopus for waiting rooms. And set the door line and quiet hours for the day. Estudiante. Tape on sleeve. Yes, no, plus one sentence. Ask for written order. I slept. Because some of you need copy-paste more than poetry. Here is the paper trail kit you can stick on your fridge tonight. Paper trail kit. Print this. Timeline grid. When, where, who, what. Verbatim. File names. WMD type. Subject VI. 3-paragraph emails. Facts. Terms. Next. Please reply. Received. Top 1-page packet. A timeline. B hospital. C school. D specialist. Appropriate and safe. Door line. We're resting the house. Email purpose plus 2 noon options. Unknown number protocol. 1 reply. To counsel. Forward. Log. Block after received. Reply windows. 8 and 6. Noon for decisions. Quiet hours. 24. After any spike. Promise. Gentle in tone. Firm in terms. Boring on purpose. I didn't become more eloquent this month. I became legible. A clerk could understand me at 4:58 p.m. A teacher could see where to put the lap pad. A judge could lift a proposed order that read like the room we needed. The house stayed kind because the paper stayed clear. That's the emotional payoff no one claps for. The day you realize the binder has turned back into furniture. It sits on a shelf. It doesn't call your name. It's heavy and ready, and you don't have to look at it to know it will hold. The clerk didn't need my feelings at 4:58 p.m. She needed to find one page fast. By the time our case was called, my job wasn't to be convincing. It was to be legible. We reached the courthouse 20 minutes early with the binder that had turned back into furniture. Heavy, ready, not theatrical. Marcus walked beside me like a metronome. Same lanes as last time, he said. Timeline, hospital, school, specialist. We add 2 pieces today. No contact compliance and father contact. Supervised. Answer yes, no, plus 1 sentence. Ask for a short form written order. He tapped the sleeve where I'd taped my index card. Hearing card. Review. Top exhibits. A. 7-day timeline. B. PEDS discharge note. C. School IEP snapshot. D. Specialist letter. Appropriate and safe. E. No contact compliance. Carrier preserve plus police addendum. F. Father visits. A1 notes. Answer mode. Yes, no, plus 1 sentence. Ask. Please email the written order. I'll reply received. Ms. Hayes arrived with her tote and that steady face that keeps rooms from spinning. She handed Marcus a 2-page memo. Verbs in rows, not adjectives in paragraphs. Kendra had contributed observation sheets from the last 3 A1 visits. On time, matched volume, child-regulated, no safety concerns. The gal, guardian ad litem, joined us with a thin folder and a peppermint. She crouched to Julia's height and asked if it was okay to say hello later. Julia squeezed my fingers twice. I squeezed back. I'm here. Me too. We were called at 9:41. The courtroom had the same wood and clock and quiet as before, the same bailiff with the same gentle voice. Judge Patel took the bench with the expression of a man who had graded 1,000 essays and preferred bullet points. The county attorney began. Agency requests continuation of the existing order with clarifications, he said, handing the clerk our packet. Temporary placement where the child is regulated. Supervised contact for mother and father at the Family Resource Center. Communications in writing. No doorstep exchanges. No public commentary identifying the child. Additional terms. Memorialize the court's prior no-contact admonition regarding harassing communications, and recognize classroom, home supports as accommodations, not hazards. He stopped. No speeches. Just a shopping list the court could bag. Marcus stood. We'll proceed by exhibit. Our timeline. 7 days. Supervised visits Montu, 10-hour 10:10 in room A1. Child regulated. No incidents. 1 late arrival by mother corrected moving forward. Father Mark present for 2 supervised introductions. Asked what helps. Followed regulation snapshot. B. Hospital. PEDS discharge. Social work note. Supports documented. Weighted blanket folded at feet for waking regulation only. No meds prescribed. C. School. Teachers no action FYI. IEP excerpt. Visual schedule. Breaks 5-2. Lap pad after PE. Teacher reports consistent regulation. D. Specialist. Plain language letter stating routines and sensory supports are appropriate and safe. E. No contact. Carrier preservation letter. Brief police harassment report. Agency confirmation. No further contact received since the court's admonition. F. Father contact. A1 notes. Kendra. Asked consent. Matched volume, pace. Child engaged. No safety concerns. He clicked his capped pen against each tab so the judge could follow the spine without wandering into sentiment. Relief requested? Judge Patel asked. Marcus placed one sheet on the podium titled Proposed Order, short form. Review. SN continued temporary placement, 30 days, where child is regulated. Supervised contact for mother and father at Family Resource Center. 3x week, mother, and 2x week, father introductions. 10 minutes, staff-led pacing. Agency to adjust duration in writing as regulation allows. Issue communications in writing. No doorstep exchanges. No direct or indirect contact outside agency counsel. Harassing communications prohibited. Violations subject to sanction. 5. Classroom home supports. Visual schedule. Breaks 5-2. Lap pad. Weighted blanket at feet for waking regulation. Recognized as accommodations, not hazards. 6. No public commentary identifying the child, school, clinic, or faith community. 7. Agency to file short-form assessment within 21 days. Administrative review set the same day at 9:30. Either party may advance for good cause. Asti nastit. Any allegation must be stated as conduct, date, time, observable behavior, not adjectives. He sat. Mother's position? The judge asked. Claire's attorney rose first this time. Mother is committed to reunification. She believes the child should be home now. Failing that, she requests expanded, unsupervised time and objects to what she characterizes as the other party's gatekeeping. The judge looked over his glasses. Counsel, what conduct supports unsupervised contact today? A pause. Shuffling. Mother's love for the child is not disputed, he said. She has attended visits. On time? The judge asked. The attorney glanced at Kendra's notes. Not the first one. Any safety concerns observed in the current placement? The judge asked the agency. Ms. Hayes stood. No, Your Honor. Child is regulated in current placement. Staff observed no safety concerns at visits. Father introductions are proceeding supervised without incident. The judge turned to the gal. Counsel? The guardian ad litem spoke in the sentence shape courts trust. Child is oriented, regulated, using scripts. I need heavy quiet. She expressed comfort in current sleeping environment and prefers visits that are quiet and short. I support continuation with explicit recognition that supports our accommodations. Mother, Judge Patel said, turning to Claire. 2 questions. Yes, no. Are you prepared to resume overnight care today with the child regulated? Claire swallowed. No. Will you comply with supervised visits and keep communications in writing? She looked at the table, then me, then the ceiling. Yes. He nodded. Court adopts the proposed order with minor edits, he said, pen already moving. Placement continues. Visits as scheduled. Communications in writing. No contact outside agency, counsel. Supports recognized as accommodations. No public commentary identifying the child. Short form assessment in 21 days. Administrative review set same. Allegations in conduct, not adjectives. He looked at me once, kindly, without inviting a speech. Ma'am, will you continue the routines that keep the child regulated? Yes, Your Honor. Hug, wash, snack, 3 pages, wave. Good, he said, and handed the clerk the signed sheet. Agency to circulate the written order by close of business. It took 11 minutes, 49 seconds if you trust my wristwatch. In the hallway, I didn't high-five anyone. I took out my phone and wrote what keeps rooms honest. Subject, proof review hearing, short form order, summary. Facts, court continued temporary placement, supervised contact, Mother 3XWK, Father Intros 2XWK. In writing communications. No doorstep. No contact outside agency. Council. Supports recognized as accommodations. Visual schedule. Breaks 5-2. Lap pad. Weighted blanket at feet for waking regulation. No public commentary identifying child, school, clinic, faith community. Agency to file short form assessment in 21 days. Administrative review set same day. Allegations as conduct, not adjectives. Terms. I will maintain home routines. Root all scheduling and writing. Reply windows 8 and 6. Quiet hours, 24, after any escalation. Next. Await PDF of order. Reply received. Coordinate visit times. Send school no action FYI acknowledging accommodations language. Attach minute order to tab 2. Update timeline. Ms. Hayes replied received before the elevator dinged. The school's principal wrote received with a small heart that felt like a human being tucked under a title. On the steps, Marcus gave me the briefest debrief in the world. You did the work before the room, he said. That's why the room moved in minutes. He tugged the sleeve where my card lived. Keep the sleeve. I sat with Julia on the bench while Emma finished a math worksheet. Home? Julia asked. Home, I said. The word wasn't an argument anymore. It was a schedule. Back in the kitchen, I slid the minute order into tab 2 and added 2 rows to the timeline. When, where, who, what, verbatim, 9:41, 9:53 a.m. Court. Review. Judge Patel. Placement continues. Supervised contact. In writing. No doorstep. No contact. Supports or accommodations. No public commentary. Assessment in 21 days. 10:07 a.m. Email agency school received. Then I did something that seems small until you've lived without it. I set the porch light to dusk and made grilled cheese without watching the door. Claire posted a vague paragraph before dinner. Some people think papers make them parents, and I felt the familiar heat rise to my face. I didn't screenshot. I didn't write a sermon in notes. I looked at my comment containment card, set a 10-minute timer, and sent one email to the only room that mattered. Subject, FYI, social post, no action requested, fax, public post alluding to case, no names. Terms, we won't engage, communications in writing, next, notifying only, proceed per order if identifiers appear. Received, agency, received. I put the phone face down and served soup. Because this is YouTube and some of you need copy-paste more than catharsis, here's the pocket review kit that let us walk in, speak in rows, and walk out with a month we could keep. Pocket review kit. Print this. Top exhibits, 1 page each on top. A. Timeline. 7 days. When, where, who, what. Verbatim. See hospital. ERs, PEDS, plus social work. Supports as accommodations. School, IEP. Visual schedule. Breaks. 5-2. Lap pad after PE. D. Specialist. Appropriate and safe in plain words. E. No contact compliance. Preservation letter. Plus police addendum. F. The father's supervised notes. Asked consent. Matched volume. Regulated. Answer mode. Yes, no, plus 1 sentence. Ask. Short form order. Continue temporary placement where regulated. Supervised contact at A1. Mother 3XWK. Father intros 2XWK. In writing. No doorstep. No contact outside agency council. Harassment. Sanction. Supports or accommodations. Not hazards. Name them. No public commentary identifying child, school, clinic, faith community. Short form assessment in 21 days. Admin review set. Allegations as conduct, not adjectives. Emails to send from hallway. Order summary. Fax. Terms. Next. Received. To agency, council, school. School FYI. No action requested. Accommodations recognized by court. Routines unchanged. If you try one thing at your next hearing, make it the short form proposed order. Hand the judge a door they can actually walk through. That night we read 3 pages, threw the orange ball 6 times, and set the weighted blanket where it belongs. Folded at the feet. Waking regulation only. Always. The house sounded like cutlery and a dishwasher and a child laughing at a truck that made a beeping sound when it reversed. Boredom. On purpose. The order gave us structure. Re-entry needed something quieter. Habits. We didn't come home to fireworks. We came home to a list on the fridge. We reached the apartment just before noon, the minute the sun makes my kitchen a kind person. I slid the minute order into tab 2, washed one mug like it was a ritual, and taped a card to the refrigerator, the only speech I wanted in the house. 2 hours of boring. Hug, wash, snack, tour, play, and no doorstep. In writing, public only. Sikarsias. Reply windows 8 and 6. Quiet hours, 24. Then I put the blue octopus on the coffee table like a welcome mat and turned the porch light to dusk. Habit, not miracle. The first rule of re-entry was no debrief. I printed it on a post-it for the inside of the doorbell camera. We're resting the house. Please email purpose plus 2 noon options. When Ms. Nora from downstairs arrived with muffins and 1,000 careful questions pressed behind her teeth, I pointed at the post-it, and she nodded. Room, shift, soup, study, or paper, she whispered. Soup, I said, because soup is a boundary you can heat. I wanted to narrate us to safety. Instead, I built the landing strip on the coffee table and followed it like a flight crew. Hug, wash. We washed our hands as if the sink had a degree in regulation. Running water is a lullaby if you let it. Snack, applesauce. No negotiations with novelty. Tour. We walked the calm corner, turned on the lamp, patted the anchored bookcase. I said safe, and Julia repeated it like a password. Play. 3 pages from the truck book. 6 slow throws of the imaginary orange ball. A yes we didn't have to earn. I texted Ms. Hayes a single line. Home and boring. Received? And slid my phone face down. Silence is not surrender. It's structure. The second rule of re-entry? Food is furniture. We kept meals brown and predictable. Toast, rice, soup, applesauce. No recipes with drama. My mother loves a spreadsheet. She brought over a 3-day menu labeled return dish same day. Julia ate without doing the too much face. I clipped Mom's list under this helped because kindness deserves filing too. Sleep is where panic likes to rehearse. We stopped giving it stage time. I folded the weighted blanket at the feet, waking regulation only, always. Set the lap pad within reach for reading, and placed the blue octopus on Julia's chest like a paperweight against the night. 10-minute check timer for me, not her. The porch light clicked to dusk, our truce with the dark. School asked for a story. I gave them a schedule. Subject, FYI, re-entry plan, no action requested. Visual schedule taped at home. Breaks 5-2, lap pad after PE. Aisle seat near exit for assemblies. We'll keep all updates in writing. No action requested. The teacher replied, received with a tiny thumbs up. We practiced bus stop choreography like it was a dance. Stand where shade touches curb. Wave once. No speeches. When Emma squeezed my fingers twice, I'm trying, I pressed back me too, and let her walk without a monologue chasing her ankles. Church and library came next because our nervous systems needed rooms with ushers and librarians, people whose kindness has rules. I emailed 2 sentences to each. Church. Back row, aisle, no introductions. If we leave, please hold the door instead of asking why. Library. Aisle seat at storytime, please. We do 3 pages then wave. We won't debrief in the building. Both replied, received. The usher wrote our rules on an index card and tucked it inside a hymnal. The librarian saved the seat like it had always been ours. The third rule of re-entry. No big fixes for 72 hours. No new therapists. No family summits. No internet clarifications. My phone was a sidewalk. We only crossed at 8 and 6 with adults who could move a lever. Ms. Hayes, Marcus, school. When a cousin texted, "Now tell me what really happened," I pasted the door line and went back to cutting crusts off sandwiches. I built tiny checkpoints so my body didn't have to keep the whole map in mind. 10, 10, 10 every day. Paper, 10, 1 timeline row, 1 file saved, 1 email ending, Please reply, received. House 10, sink reset, 1 surface clear, porch light, dusk. Play, 10, 3 pages, 6 throws, 1 yes. Monday, map at noon. Print 7-day timeline. Refresh table of contents. Clip proposed order, short form, to the front just in case someone asked me to carry a room. Friday, wrap at 6, done, next. Ask to Ms. Lopez at work, because employment feeds porches. Work had its own re-entry. I didn't show up to the Monday stand-up with a testimonial. I showed up with a deck and yes-no plus 1 sentence. Ms. Lopez asked what I needed. I said noon for decisions, 8 and 6 for replies, and asynchronous unless blocked. She said deal and meant it. I sent approvals that read approved to ship VNs, so the week couldn't argue with itself. I kept my crisis out of Slack not because shame, but because clarity. Colleagues deserve deliverables, not debriefs. Mark's A1 visits folded into re-entry like a timer into a recipe. Tuesday, Thursday, 10-10-10. I printed the regulation snapshot for him again and added 1 line in bold. We end on a wave, not a promise. He brought the truck and asked, push? Instead of, remember when? Kendra's pen wrote, regulated, we went home for soup. Sometimes competence is the only apology a room can absorb. Claire's visits stayed supervised, short, staff-paced. I wrote no doorstep on a card and taped it above the peephole for myself. When a message pinged at 11:37 p.m. with more adjectives than nouns, I used quiet hours, 24, like a blanket. Received only, forward to agency. Log the time, go to bed on purpose. Re-entry made me greedy for small wins. I started a This Helped tray on the counter and fed it slips of paper. Julia asked heavy before she needed it. Emma taught Grandma to set porch light to dusk. Neighbor returned soup jar same day. Ms. Lopez wrote approved to ship V3. When the tray got heavy, I paper-clipped the week's slips and tucked them behind a yellow tab. This helped, in tab 1. Courts like Rose. My heart likes receipts. The internet kept trying to turn my life into a genre. I kept answering with settings. Pinned sentence on every profile. I don't discuss minors or health online. We keep this in writing with the right folks. If a post named a school or church, I ran the digital proof chain. URL. 1 screenshot. Facts. Terms. Next to agency, received, file it. No screenshots for sport. No paragraphs for strangers. Policy, not performance. Neighbors learned our menus because help that lasts needs categories, not heroics. Room. Noon 12:20 at the cafe to map my week. Shift. 1 hour so I can call insurance. Soup. 1 jar, return same day. Study. 2 10-question sprints with Emma. Paper. Read this form out loud in public. I'll send the 3-paragraph summary. If they offered something else, I said thank you and picked from the menu anyway. It looks picky from the outside. It's sustainable from the inside. There was a moment on day 2 when I almost broke my own rule. Someone posted a story with my kitchen in the background, and the word kidnap implied without saying it. My fingers ran toward the comment box like they'd been training for a race. I set a 10-minute timer instead, and wrote an email to the only people who could fix it. Subject, proof. Post with home interior. Please archive. Next public video with my kitchen visible. Language implies removal. 2,103 views at capture. URL plus timestamp attached. Terms. We won't engage. Comms in writing. Next. Please archive. Advise if advisory to poster is appropriate. Received? Received. The post came down later that afternoon. Not a win. A procedure. The house learned us again. The dog stopped pacing when the dishwasher started. The porch light's click meant reading, not reporting. When Julia woke from a nap and stared at the ceiling the way kids check for thunder, I held out my hand. 2 presses. She pressed back. We survived another small hour without narrating it. Because some of you watch with your notes app open, here's the re-entry kit that kept our first 72 hours from turning into an encore of the storm. 2-hour re-entry kit. Copy-paste. House rules on the door. We're resting the house. Please email purpose plus 2 noon options. No doorstep. Public rooms only. In writing. Landing strip on coffee table. Hug, wash, snack, tour, play. 3 pages, 6 throws, 1 yes. Reply hygiene. Reply windows 8 and 6. Noon for decisions. Quiet hours, 24, after any spike. End serious emails with please reply received. School and community. School FYI. No action. Visual schedule. Breaks 5-2. Lap pad after PE. Church library. Aisle back row. No introductions. 3 pages then wave. Sleep and sensory. Weighted blanket folded at feet. Waking regulation only. Lap pad for reading. Blue octopus for naps. Dusk for the porch light. Help menu, so offers stick. Room, shift, soup, study, paper. Do not list, for 72 hours. No new big decisions. No public posts. No family tribunals. No what really happened calls. Paper maintenance. Timeline row day. File 1. Send 1 received email. Monday map at noon. Friday wrap at 6. If you try only one thing, make it the landing strip. 5 tiny steps replaced 100. Are we doing this right? On the 3rd night, Emma and I stood at the sink rinsing bowls like we were washing the day off the edges. Are we done? She asked. I said the true thing that sounds small until you live it. We're steady. She nodded and set the porch light to dusk like she was clocking in for peace. Re-entry didn't fix the world. It taught our house who we are when the world is unsupervised. We were gentle in tone, firm in terms, boring on purpose. The order gave us a month. The habits gave us Tuesday. Courts eat rows, houses eat habits, but my mortgage ate paychecks. When the crisis tried to swallow my calendar, I rebuilt work the same way I rebuilt home. Boring on purpose. The Monday after the review hearing, I didn't take a personal day. I took a procedural day. I brewed coffee, opened my laptop, and told my brain we were going to be a thermostat, not a smoke alarm. First, I ran a Monday map for work. 20 minutes, timer on, pen quiet. Green, can ship alone. Finalize Q3 slide template. Tidy the spreadsheet tabs. Schedule 2 posts. Yellow, needs light touch. Data pull from ops. Legal review on slide 12. Confirm vendor deliverable V3. Red, blocked. Analytics account permission. 1 asset waiting on approvals. Then I wrote the Friday wrap skeleton and parked it in drafts. Subject, Friday wrap. Done, next, ask. Done, 3 bullet verbs. Next, what I'll ship first thing mon 2, ask. Exact 1-line approvals or resources. Please reply received. The draft sat there like a future spine. Just knowing it was waiting kept me from leaking my week into Slack. I had one rule for the office, and for Slack, which is just an office with pajamas. Deliverables over debriefs. When people asked, "How are you really?" I gave them verbs. Shipping V2 today, V3 Friday, need approval on slide 12. Private life stayed in my pockets like house keys. I didn't owe anyone a tour of my kitchen to keep the project on time. At 9:00 I pinged my manager, Ms. Lopez, calm, sharp, allergic to drama. I didn't ask for sympathy. I asked for structure. Subject, week shape, to keep shipping. Fax court set predictable schedule. I'll be online 8:12 and 1 to 5, with noon protected for decisions. Terms, prefer asynchronous unless unblocked requires live. Approvals via one-liners. Approved to ship VTs. All notes in writing. Next, shipping Q3 slides V2 today, V3 Friday. If you need me live, send purpose plus 2 time options. Please reply received. She replied received and added 2 lines that made my shoulders drop. Use noon for thinking. Book office hours. 2-2-3 for the team. I'll direct questions there. It wasn't a favor. It was a boundary wearing a blazer. I carved office hours into the calendar like a front porch. 2-3 p.m. Only emergencies lived outside that fence. I pasted the door line into Slack. Hey team, trying office hours to keep us shipping. If you need me live, drop purpose plus 2 time options. Otherwise, async is great. Thanks. People behaved. Turns out teammates like predictability more than they like gossip. I rebuilt my project file names to match my court binder because consistency is free. Year MDD project deliverable VG. 35, 06, 09, Q3, story. Slides. V2, PPTX. Das erste Website Tirasi Dekiva once die sword order became story order. When someone pinged, "Do we have the latest?" I sent a link labeled VIs, not a paragraph that began with, "I think." My future self at 4:58 p.m. never had to rummage. Approvals wore one outfit. Approved to ship V3. Minor nits. Slide order 6 to 7. Change optimize. Improve to match legal. Not looks good. Not love it. Approved is a yes that survives screenshots. I set 2 reply windows for work the way I did for life. 8 and 6. Morning was for moving the ball downfield. Evening was for clarity. Noon belonged to decisions. If something pinged at 11:57, it waited until 1 I told my nervous system this was not laziness. It was a strategy. After a week, my brain trusted me again. When a teammate started a hallway debrief with, "Did you see what she posted?" I used the same kind exit line I used with family. "I don't discuss minors' health online or at work. If you need me for the project, I'm here." Then I steered us back to Rose. "What are the 3 slides you want PM to remember? Name them." The gossip fog cleared faster than I expected. Most people didn't want to be messy. They wanted to be useful, and I handed them handles. I made 1 status page and stuck it to the top of our team wiki. A single screen with 4 boxes. Now shipping today, next, this week. Risks, 1 sentence owner. Asks, 1 line each. Approved to ship VI. No paragraphs. No, as per my last email. Just the kind of page a director can read on an elevator. When Ms. Lopez asked for updates, I pasted the link instead of a saga. She started forwarding it upstairs. My calendar exhaled. Hybrid and in-person days used to mean random collisions. I felt guilty for deflecting. After the storm, I turned collisions into mini appointments. "I have 10 minutes and a standard we can copy," I'd say, and pull up the decision box. Decision box, copy, paste, and docs. Facts, 2 lines. Options, A-B, cost, benefit in 1 sentence each. My take, 1 line. Ask, approve A or B, reply received. Directors blessed me for not making them fish feelings out of slacks. The week had edges again, so I pressed them. Friday 5:30, I sent the Friday wrap I'd drafted Monday. Done. Q3 V2, metrics deck V1, analytics fixed. Next, V3 Friday, landing page fixes 2, vendor handoff WED. Ask, approve V2 slides. Approve to ship V2. Confirm WED handoff time. Please reply received. The first time Ms. Lopez replied received at 5:41, I realized my body had been waiting for closure like a paycheck. The word is tiny and carries a week. Not everything was tidy. A cross-functional lead wanted me on a last-minute meeting at 12, my protected decision block. I used my polite fence. "I keep noon for decisions so I can ship steady. Can we do 2:20, 2:40 during office hours? If urgent, send purpose plus 2 time options and I'll make it work." He took 2:20. We decided in 18 minutes because we had a decision box. When HR invited our team to a resilience circle, which is a lovely idea on paper and a terrible idea during deadlines, I replied to the organizer, "Thanks for the care. I'm focusing on deliverables this sprint. If you publish notes as bullets, I'll review async." She did. I sent back received and shipped my deck. I made one exception. I asked Ms. Lopez for a 15-minute one-on-one to state my work door line out loud so no one had to guess. "Here's my 3-line plan," I said, paper in hand so my nervous system would trust me. "Send deliverables over debriefs. I'll ship VIX, not sagas. Asynchronous unless blocked. I'll default to docs. If I'm blocking someone, I'll take the call. Yuri Nunes decisions. Protect that block so I can be a thermostat, not a smoke alarm." She grinned. "You sound like a project manager's dream," she said. "You ship. Keep shipping." I left her office with a calendar that looked like a map and felt like a promise. Because the crisis touched everything, I also did 2 quiet upgrades. The meeting hygiene. I stopped attending any meeting that didn't have an agenda attached. If someone sent a calendar block without one, I replied. Politely boring. Could you paste the one-line purpose plus 3 bullets here? Happy to prep async. If live helps, I'm in. Half of those evaporated. The other half became 10-minute decisions. Tier documentation that survives the 58. I built a where is it index at the top of our shared drive. Brand story. Brand 2025-6. Brand narrative V1. Docs. Q3 slides. Current. Q3 2025-06-09. Q3 story. Slides. V2. PPTX. Metrics deck. Data 2025-06-10. Website. Metrics. Deck. V1. PDF. Approvals. 2025-6. Approved to ship. I pinned it to Slack and pasted the link whenever someone asked for the latest. Slowly, people stopped asking. My DMs went quiet. The work got loud. On Wednesday, a teammate sent, "So what happened with?" and then trailed off. I felt the old pull. I pressed my thumb against my palm twice, "I'm here," and pasted the work door line. Happy to help with the project. Send purpose plus 2 time options. I keep personal stuff offline. He replied, "Totally get it," and asked for slide 7 instead. Boundaries didn't make me cold. They made me useful. The best compliment came from ops in the form of a complaint that wasn't one. "You're boring in the best way. Predictable." I took it like a plaque. There were small flares. A vendor missed a deadline and tried to rebrand it as a misunderstanding. Pre-storm me would have apologized. Post-storm me replied with rouse. Fax. PO key has delivery date June 12th. Attached. Terms. We need file by 10 a.m. Thursday. Communications in writing. Reply windows 8 and 6. Next, if you'll miss 10 a.m., propose 2 new times. Otherwise confirm received. They shipped at 9:52. Not because I shamed them, but because I gave them a handle. I wish I could tell you the office transformed into a monastery of mutual respect. It didn't. People were still people. But the systems I built survived days when my heart couldn't. When the burner saga flickered, the 8 and 6 windows held. When a cousin posted a sub-tweet, the comment containment card kept my hands off the keyboard. When Mark's schedule shifted, the TOC on my binder told a sub that a stranger could drive. At the end of that first steady week, I sent the Friday wrap. Ms. Lopez replied, "Received. Approved to ship V3 Monday. Enjoy your boring weekend." I laughed out loud at my desk because boring had become admirable, like someone complimenting the strength of your house's foundation. That night, at home, I read 3 pages, threw the orange ball 6 times, and wiped the counter in tidy half-moons. Emma stood the blue hoodie like a tent over her fox and declared it the fort of ordinary. The porch light clicked to dusk. I didn't refresh Slack. I let the dishwasher talk us down. If you're rebuilding work while parenting through weather, try this pocket kit. It isn't heroic. It ships. Work after the storm kit. Copy-paste. 1. Week shape mail to manager. Facts. Hours. What's predictable. Terms. Async unless blocked. Approvals. Approved to ship V. In writing. Next. What ships when? Please reply received. To office hours. Door line. Office hours 2-2-2-3. For live requests and purpose plus 2 time options. It's a status page. Single screen. Now shipping. Next. Risks. Asks. Approved to ship V. Fighter. 4. Decision box. In docs. Side 1 line cost, benefit. My take. 1 line. Ask approve audience received. 5. Reply hygiene. 8 and 6 windows. Noon for decisions. Quiet hours. 24. After spikes. 6. 6 file names that sort. Year MDD project deliverable VG. 7 to your end designed. 7. Exit line for gossip. I don't discuss minors' health at work. Need me for the project? If you've got a sentence that keeps your workday calm, your version of approved to ship VPA, drop it in the comments so another mom can borrow it next Monday. Or just type received to anchor your own week. When the headlines moved on, we didn't. We kept a handful of tiny things and let them stack into a life. None of it looked like victory. All of it felt like Tuesday. After the hearings, after the burner went quiet, after the posts lost their voltage, I opened the binder and realized it had turned back into furniture. Heavy, ready, not calling my name. I made an inventory, not of what we survived, but of what we kept. And we kept a 5-step runway. It lived on the coffee table in block letters. Hug, wash, snack, tour, play. I used to think good parenting sounded like speeches. That list proved me wrong. We did it every time we entered the house, no matter how ordinary the day had been. The sink sang us back to regulated. Applesauce declared a truce. The tour reminded our bodies where the calm corner lamp lived and why the bookcase was anchored. Then we played. 3 pages, 6 throws, and 1, yes, I didn't have to earn. That silly runway gave me the courage to stop narrating us to safety. We practiced safety instead. So we kept 2 presses. When words felt like gravel, we used palms. I pressed Julia's hand twice. I'm here. And she pressed back. Me too. We did it in waiting rooms, bus lines, church pews, and once in the cereal aisle when a stranger's comment reached for us with the wrong kind of interest. 2 presses beat any essay I could have written in public. And we kept boring sentences that traveled. We're resting the house. Please email purpose plus 2 noon options. We keep communications in writing, public rooms, no doorstep. Yes, no plus 1 sentence. Please reply received. Those lines turned shouting matches into paper. They also gave decent people a script to be decent with. Even kind neighbors need words. We handed them ours. So we kept the weighted blanket folded at the feet. Everyone wanted to fix bedtime. We chose rules instead of remedies. The blanket stayed folded, waking regulation only, always. The lap pad came out for reading. The blue octopus rested on a small chest like a paperweight that told night to hush. I didn't chase miracle products. I chased consistent placement. We kept the porch light at dusk. It meant we're up. Come in before the storm. It still did, just with better boundaries. I taped our door line above the bell. We're resting the house. Email purpose plus 2 noon options. People learned. The doorstep stayed a threshold, not a courtroom. We kept rows, not rumors. The timeline grid stayed. So did file names that sorted themselves. YSMD type subject VB. Panic forgot nouns. The grid remembered when, where, who, what, verbatim. On review days, I could print 1 page and let it do the talking. It turned out clerks don't need my feelings at 4:58 p.m. They need to find the right square fast. We kept 8 and 6, and guarded noon. I answered non-urgent things at 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. I saved noon for decisions, not reactions. My phone learned. My body did too. After a month, my nervous system stopped lunging at every buzz like it was a snake. We kept Monday maps and Friday wraps. At noon each Monday, I printed the 7-day timeline, refreshed the table of contents, and clipped a proposed order, short form, on top, just in case. On Fridays, I sent done, next, ask at work, ending with, please reply, received. The week got edges again. And we kept other people's competence. Ms. Hayes brought memos with verbs. Kendra kept room A1 human and timed. Marcus handed judges doors instead of diatribes. Ms. Lopez at work carved office hours into my calendar like a front porch. Mark, Dad, asked, what helps next time? And then did it. I stopped waiting for apologies and started collecting competence. It changed my blood pressure. And to 10. We kept a menu for help. When folks asked, what do you need? We didn't audition. We picked room, sit with me at noon while I map the week. Shift, 1 hour so I can call insurance. Soup, 1 jar, return same day. Study, 2 10-question sprints with Emma. Paper, read this form out loud in public while I write the 3-paragraph summary. Offers stopped being theater and became sustainable. That we kept the internet on mute without pretending it didn't exist. Pinned sentence on every profile. I don't discuss minors' health online. We keep this in writing with the right folks. If a post named a school, clinic, or church, I ran the digital proof chain. URL, 1 screenshot, email fax, terms. Next, received, then file. No subtweets, no duels. Policy, not performance. We kept work boring and shipping. Office hours, 2-2-3. Decision boxes in docs. Facts, 2 lines. Options, A-B. My take, 1. Ask received. Approvals that read, approved to ship VIs. Gossip got the exit line. I don't discuss minors' health at work. Need me for the project? The job fed the porch, because the job got predictable. We kept quiet hours, 24. Every time the feed spiked or a text arrived with more adjectives than nouns, we put the house on 24. Received, only to essential parties. Everything else tomorrow at noon. Quiet hours weren't a punishment. They were pressure relief. We kept 1-page packets for any room. Top sheet, always the same. A timeline, 7 days. B hospital, ER plus PEDS, supports your accommodations. C school, visual schedule, breaks 5-2, lap pad after PE. D specialist, appropriate and safe. I could build it half asleep. That meant I slept. But we kept our do not list. For the first 72 hours after any big thing. No new therapists, no family tribunals, no online clarifications, no doorstep debriefs. It sounded severe. It felt like oxygen. Keeping is not the same thing as clinging. We let go too. We let go of the idea that a perfect sentence would fix another adult's behavior. We let go of debating strangers. We let go of unstructured updates with people who wanted access more than accountability. We let go of apologizing for procedures that made our child's body exhale. And we let go of telling the story like a movie. Real life is more like a recipe. Timers, ingredients, the same 5 steps until dinner tastes like normal. When I finished the inventory, I wrote one more card and taped it by the porch light switch. Middle promise, final. Gentle in tone, firm in terms, boring on purpose. Keep Tuesdays. Let courts eat rows. Let feeds starve. It wasn't poetry. It was repeatable. A week later, Julia fell asleep on the couch with the blue octopus on her chest and the truck book open to the crane page. Emma draped the blue hoodie over her fox and declared it the Ford of Ordinary. I set the weighted blanket at her feet, checked the door line on peephole, and turned the porch light to dusk. My phone buzzed in the other room and did not get to rearrange us. Mark showed up to A1 on time and whispered, "Pages or push?" Julia chose push. The truck rolled between them in slow arcs. Kendra's pen wrote regulated. I filed the note under tab 8, Dad without ceremony. That's what competent sounds like, paper sliding into a sleeve. At work, Ms. Lopez replied, received to my Friday wrap and added, "Approved to ship V3 Monday. Enjoy your boring weekend." I laughed out loud, not because it was funny, but because we had built a life where boring was safe, and safe was starting to taste like cinnamon again. For the record, because paper remembers, here's the inventory I wrote for myself that night. Steal what you need. What to keep? Copy-paste checklist. Home. Landing strip. Hug. Wash. Snack. Tour. Play. 3 pages. 6 throws. 1 yes. 2 presses hand signal. Weighted blanket folded at feet. Waking regulation only. Plus lap pad for reading. Door line on the bell. We're resting the house. Email purpose plus 2 noon options. Quiet hours, 24, card on fridge. Paper, timeline grid. When, where, who, what verbatim. File rule, EMDD type, subject VI. 1-page packet, a timeline, B hospital, C school, D specialist. 3-paragraph emails, facts, terms, next received. People, help menu, room, shift, soup, study, paper. Scripts for kids. I need quiet, heavy, a break. Re-entry parent snapshot. Do, don't, objects, end on a wave. Pinned sentence online. No minors, health in writing. Work. Monday map, noon, and Friday wrap, 5:30. Office hours. Door line, purpose 2-time options. Decision box and docs. Approvals. Approved to ship V. Reply windows 8 and 6. Noon for decisions. If you try only one, try the landing strip. 5 steps replaced 100. Are we doing this right? The last thing we kept was the smallest. A ritual of thanks that didn't invite a debrief. When a helper did a thing from the menu, I wrote this helped on a sticky and slid it into the yellow section of tab 1. Not for court. For us. Because it's easy to forget that ordinary is made of other people's repeatable kindness. If you're watching this with a mug in your hands and a nervous system that wants a map, drop received in the comments and write one line you plan to keep this week. If you've got time for 2, share your door line, the sentence that protected your threshold. The payoff didn't arrive as fireworks. It arrived as Tuesday. That night, the kitchen smelled like cinnamon and dish soap. Emma draped the blue hoodie over her fox and declared it the Fort of Ordinary. Julia curled on the couch with the blue octopus on her chest, the weighted blanket folded at her feet, waking regulation only, always, and the truck book open to the crane page. I set the porch light to dusk and we ran our 5-step runway like a ritual that knew our names. Hug, wash, snack, tour, play, no speeches, no sirens, 3 pages, 6 slow throws of the imaginary orange ball, 1 yes none of us had to earn. When the house was soft, Mark texted, received, thu 10 as A1, bringing truck. It wasn't poetry, but it was commitment. Ms. Hayes replied to my earlier summary with a quiet received. At 8 I sent Ms. Lopez my Friday rap draft with 2 lines. Done, next, ask. Approved, to ship V3 Monday. She tapped back, received. Every reply landed like a seatbelt across a chest I used to carry in my hands. Julia blinked toward the ceiling, listening for storms that didn't come. I reached out my hand and waited. She pressed my palm twice. I'm here, and I pressed back. Me too. She exhaled, heavy and small, the way kids do when their bodies believe the room again. That was the win. Not a headline. A breath. I looked around our living room and saw the whole month, tidy and alive, the door line taped by the bell. We're resting the house. Please email purpose plus 2 noon options, the visual schedule at eye height, the binder back to furniture, the table of contents ready for strangers who might need to drive. The internet was still out there, louder than useful. The court was still a calendar. But in here, we had a recipe that made dinner taste like normal. I didn't feel heroic. I felt steady. If you're watching this with your own nervous system asking for a map, here's what I kept on my fridge. Screenshot it if you need to. Landing strip, hug, wash, snack, tour, play. 2 presses. I'm here, me too. Door line. We're resting the house. Email purpose plus 2 noon options. Reply windows, 8 and 6, noon for decisions. Quiet hours, 24, after any spike. Top packet for any room. Timeline. Hospital. School. Specialist. Appropriate and safe. Work approvals. Approved to ship VS. None of this was magic. It was boring on purpose. And boring, it turned out, was the most generous thing I could give a child. Before bed, Emma asked, "Are we done?" I told the truth that finally felt like rest. We're kept. She nodded, turned off the kitchen light, and the porch light clicked to dusk like it was clocking in for peace. Julia's breathing settled into the slow rhythm of kids who trust that the adults have a plan. That was the emotional payoff. Not winning a fight, but keeping Tuesday.